Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Los Angeles City Board of Public Works. It is Friday, May 14th, 2021. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy Friday.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Good morning, directors.
Okay.
Do we have one?
Good morning, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, establishing roll call and quorum for today. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum. For the record, all commissioners are dialing in remotely. President Good and Commissioner Caloza are there at City Hall from their office. I am dialing in remotely from my home, and we are also joined today by Mr. Ted Jordan. Let me confirm, I don't see him. Mr. Jordan? I see him on the line.
I'm here. I was there's too many windows here, so
I saw you on the line, but I didn't know whether you were there or not. So we are joined by our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, President Good. At this time, you do have a quorum, Mr. President. Currently, we do not have any callers on the line under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We do have one caller on the line for item number 1. We also have 2 callers on the line for item number 17, which is the special agenda. And we also received 4 commentary for item number 17, 3 of them coming from our Google comment form that's posted online. And then we also received 1 email that has been distributed to all commissioners. Also for administrative processes, there's been a request to take item 2, 3, and 4 collectively, also 9 and 10 collectively. And then item number 11, if your board would like, we would request to withdraw item 11 from the agenda for today's agenda.
Okay. We should be able to accommodate that, both of those requests. Okay, thank you. All right, folks, let's jump in. Hearing no general public comment, we'll go straight to the minutes from Friday, April 23rd, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Any objections, Vice President Garcia or Commissioner Caloza? All right. Hearing no objections, minutes from Friday, April 23rd, 2021 are approved and adopted forthwith. That brings us to item number 1. Item number 1 is Project Labor Agreement 2020-2030 Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement. Recommending the board, 1, approve the 2020-2030 Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement negotiated by the Bureau of Contracts Administration, and 2, extend the 2015-2020 Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement through City Council's approval of the 2020-2030 Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement. With us, I believe, is Ian Monte from BCA. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning. Are we taking the public comment for this item first?
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Yeah, Dr. Campos, I know we have, I think you said we have 1 public comment, and on the item, let's take that first.
Yeah, absolutely. Caller ending in 222, caller ending in 222. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 1. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 1. Hi, please go ahead, Chris.
Good morning, Honorable Board President, Honorable Commissioners. My name is Chris Hannon with the Los Angeles Orange County's Building Construction Trades Council. I'd like to start off first by thanking the IBW 45 represented Council Audio for making this meeting possible during the pandemic, and want to call in support of item number 1 and the approval of the extension of the Board of Public Works Project Labor Agreement until 2030. The history of the agreement, we have a history of delivering projects for the residents of Los Angeles together. with the skilled men and women of the building trades. There have been over 2,100 apprentices working on this last 5-year extension of the agreement through our apprenticeships. City of Los Angeles residents are starting careers within the trades, just as I did years prior, and we look forward to delivering projects for the residents for the next 10 years, and including City of Los Angeles residents in all the good jobs. And again, want to thank the board for considering this item, and want to thank the mayor and the city council for their support as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right. That's great to hear. Mr. Monte, you want to proceed with your presentation?
Absolutely. Good morning, President Good, commissioners, and those representing the various bureaus of the Department of Public Works. My name is Ian Monte, and I'm representing the Bureau of Contract Administration this morning. And I am here representing the fact that we would recommend that the Board of Public Works, like President Good said, one, approve the 2020-2030 Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement, otherwise known as the DPW PLA, that was negotiated by the Bureau of Contract Administration, to also extend the current 2015 to 2020 Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement through City Council's approval of the new DPW PLA, and then also a slightly amended recommendation to what was already submitted is to authorize the signing of a board member will sign the Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement 2020 to 2030 agreement. That is, once it is approved by council. So in the interest of thoroughness and detail, this presentation is going to be a little bit long, so I appreciate everyone's flexibility and patience. I just want to cover this where we touch on everything that needs to be touched on. So first off, this is a new 10-year DPW PLA, which is a renewal of the existing 5-year DPW PLA between the city and the Los Angeles and Orange County Building and Construction Trades Council, as Chris Hannon was on the line representing. The new DPW PLA is also subject to council approval, as stated in the recommendations, and this is tentatively scheduled to begin on Wednesday, May 26th. It has also been reviewed and approved by the Office of the City Attorney for form and legality. The new DPW PLA will continue to help ensure timely completion of construction projects without costly corrections or work stoppages, provide access to a skilled workforce with a commitment to training, and help create career opportunities for Angelenos, including those with various barriers to employment within their backgrounds. As of this morning, the following targeted hiring metrics have been achieved through projects covered under the DPW PLA. First, 108 DPW PLA projects have been awarded with an approximate value of $1.37 billion. 18,758 workers have performed just over 4.8 million project hours. This includes 5,425 local workers that have performed 1,834,477 and 0.01 project hours, which represents 38% of all of the DPW PLA project hours. 4,790 apprentices have performed just over 1.1 million apprentice project hours. This includes 2,131 local apprentices that have performed 675,901.85 project hours, which represents 61% of the project's apprentice hours. 1,136 transitional workers have performed 891,127.5 project hours, and this represents 18% of the DPW PLA project hours. Finally, $65,101,893.42 in gross wages have been reinvested back into the Los Angeles workforce. Of that, $17,108,365.25 was paid to local apprentices for the 675,901.85 hours worked. The new DPW PLA will initially cover 172 projects with a combined approximate value of $2.61 billion. This currently equates to approximately 38 projects per year with an average project cost of $13.9 million. The initial list of covered projects, known as the PIPS list, that is spelled PIPS list, is attached to the new DPW PLA. Non-covered projects will continue to be brought before the Board of Public Works on an individual basis for recommended inclusion. The following new DPW PLA highlights are the same as the current DPW PLA. Number one, the targeted hiring metrics stay the same, which consist of at least 30% of the project hours are to be performed by local residents that live within targeted areas of the city. At least 50% or half of the project's apprentice hours are to be performed by local resident apprentices that live within targeted areas of the city. And finally, at least 10% of the project hours are to be performed by city resident transitional workers. The agreement still allows that hours worked by transitional workers may also be applied to the 30% targeted hiring for local residents and vice versa. Veteran status, homelessness, and criminal justice history remain the first priority given within the transitional worker criteria. Apprentice hiring will remain from labor/management programs as allowable by law. The agreement continues to require that the unions will cooperatively work with the city, jobs coordinators, workforce centers, and other nonprofit entities to identify or establish and maintain effective programs and procedures for persons interested in entering the construction industry. The agreement also addresses maintaining a referral system which ensures a continuous source of skilled workers. The agreement also preserves the opportunity for contractors to utilize key members of their staff through a core workforce provision. The new DPW PLA also maintains the requirement that parties to the DPW PLA constantly maintain a safe work site free from discrimination in any form of labor action that may delay the project and or further impact the public right-of-way. The agreement maintains comprehensive no strike, no work slowdown, and standardized dispute resolution language to resolve worker or contractor disputes. The unions will continue to submit quarterly reports to the BCA on the retention and graduation of apprentice program participants, and any covered project awarded during the term of the DPW PLA shall continue to be covered until completion of the project, notwithstanding the expiration date of the DPW PLA. With respect to the things that are the same or consistent, these are the following highlights that are either different or enhancements of the current PLA. The first is this new DPW PLA is a 10-year agreement. The previous two DPW PLAs were each 5-year agreements, and a 10-year agreement was sought for consistency with terms of other city-based PLAs. The Los Angeles World Airports and Port of Los Angeles PLAs are both 10-year agreements. Second, the tiers 1 and 2 zip codes within the new PLA have changed. There are now 124 zip codes, which is an increase of 17 zip codes or 14%, as the current PLA only has 107 zip codes in it. Now, how this was determined is this is based on U.S. Census Bureau data from 2018, where the County of Los Angeles' median annual household income and unemployment rates were compared to the census tracts within each city of Los Angeles zip code. Any zip code with more than 2 census tracts were either under the median annual household income or over the unemployment rate were included in the new DPW PLA zip codes. This is how we arrived at now 124 zip codes. Additionally, after year 4 of the new DPW PLA, the PIPS list will be refreshed to capture new anticipated projects for coverage. The president anticipated list only projects through mid 2026. The agreement now allows that apprentice hours performed by transitional workers may also be applied towards the 50% local residents targeted hiring percentage and vice versa. The city resident MC3, which stands for Multi-Core Craft Curriculum, a pre-apprenticeship program graduate, is now a part of the transitional worker criteria. This addition will help employ even more Angelenos on BPW PLA covered projects and potentially permanently within the construction industry. And finally, the mayor's executive directive number 27 language is included within the DPW PLA's preamble, promoting diversity, inclusion, and racial equity in and around all working environments of city business and operations, including but not limited to recruitment, hiring, retention, training, and contracting. The Bureau of Contract Administration will continue to serve as a designated administrative agency for the DPW PLA and will actively monitor and report on the targeted hiring progress for each covered project. This reporting process will include an annual report before the board regarding the DPW PLA's overall progress and success. Thus, the Bureau of Contract Administration recommends the approval of the of the Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement 2020-2030. And I am available for any and all questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Monte, for that exceedingly thorough presentation. Really appreciate it. All right, Commissioner Villegas, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, not a problem. Thank you, Mr. Monte, for your presentation. I want to echo President's Good's comments. It was really thorough, and I was just taking a little bit of notes, but I appreciate you going through all that information just so that it's on the record, and so that there's a lot of detail that that you're bringing light to, and that others can see the benefits of a PLA. Thank you for highlighting the 172 projects and then the worth of those projects over the next 10 years. 2.6 billion is no joke. And that's, as you mentioned, $13.9 million annual rate. And that's, the amount of monies that we're putting out there per year. That is pretty significant. Worth 38 projects. And I also appreciate that you went over the whole PIPS issue to be able to, that was one of the questions that I had, but at least, as new projects come online, how is it that we can include those in the PLA? So I like that there is that, that opening of reviewing of potential projects that can fall into this PLA, therefore generating more local residents to have the opportunity, the apprentice program, and the transitional workers. And I really like that you're also including the, transitional population, and that's going to also encapsulate, some of the homeless, just to get them another avenue into the workforce. So thank you for that. And I know that this PLA will also bring a lot of opportunity for local small businesses. That's worth mentioning as well. So other than that, I didn't have any questions. I just really like that you brought light to all of this, and that you're bringing this in a very comprehensive manner. And we'll see the fruits of this as more people get into the workforce. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Good morning. Good morning to you, Ian. Thank you for your report. Very thorough again. I don't really have any questions. I know I asked you like 100 questions the day you briefed me. But I just want to, I guess my only clarification is from now into 2030, it's 10 years from now, so it's a very long time, and very happy that we're updating it. Will there be any opportunity at some point if things change that we can amend this contract?
So
I'm sorry,
there
this
is. So to answer your question, there is language within the PLA that states exactly how an amendment will occur. I want to say that, towards 6 months to go in the agreement, there's certainly a window there. But if both parties would like to meet and confer, that can be agreed upon, and I'm sure legal would get involved with that as well. But there is a provision. I mean, that can be done. But again, both parties have to come to the table together to want that.
Okay. I just, 10 years is a long time and many things change and trends change. So I just wanted to make sure that it gives us some kind of flexibility that, in 8 years from now, we have to add something, we would be able to.
Understood.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I agree with staff. Like with any agreement, if you have, willing parties on both sides to engage and agreeing upon amendment, then they could do that. The amendment, if any, in that situation would be subject to the board's approval and the city council's approval. But any agreement that the city enters into, as long as the parties are willing to talk about it, can be amended in that way. So it's no different than any other agreement.
Perfect. Then that's perfect. Thank you, City Attorney. That's all for me.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you very much, Ian, as well, for your report today, which also was very comprehensive. And obviously the opportunity to include labor is critically important, because as we look at our economy, this is one of the things that we always want to do. Unfortunately, during the time of your presentation, there was some noise, and I did not clearly get an opportunity to hear your discussion about the local hire program and its relationship to PLA. Can you briefly paraphrase for me what you were telling us about the relationship of local hire as it relates to the PLA, here in the motion?
So very briefly, I was going over the target hiring metrics, which remain the same, which is at least 30% of the project hours must be performed by a city resident that resides within the targeted area. At least 50% or a half of all of the apprentice hours must be performed by a local resident apprentice that resides in the city of LA target area. And finally, at least 10% of all the work hours performed must be performed by a transitional worker that resides within the city. That's what I was stating.
Okay. And do local hire individuals have an avenue in some circumstances or in some instances to matriculate in the PLA program at some point in time or another?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Colosso.
Thank you, President Good. First, just want to thank Mr. Monte for all his hard work on negotiating this PLA, as well as, of course, John Reamer and, of course, the mayor for championing this kind of agreement in our city. It brings jobs and revenue and a boost in our economy that we need, especially right now. Mr. Monte was kind enough to brief me as well a few days ago, but of course, I know he's not new to this. I have thought of a few more questions I wanted to just ask him as it relates to this PLA. Just wanted to clarify, but really appreciate all your hard work on this and your very thorough report. And I just wanted to ask, since we have Mr. Hannon here on the line, can you share how many of the work hours were performed by local residents in the last PLA, and did we change that in this PLA?
So state that again. Did we?
Can you?
Want to know?
I know the answer already, but it's more the point that I was trying to make. So 30% of the total work hours I know has remained unchanged from what you had mentioned to me from the last PLA to this PLA. And can you just share what our projects have been averaging? Are we meeting our 30% goal? What's the opportunity to increase that? And I would even love to hear from Mr. Hannon directly about his thoughts about why we maintain the 30% level of work hours for local hire.
Got you. I'll go first. I'm not sure of Chris Hannon's availability to speak, but presently we are at 30%, 38%, excuse me, of that 30% goals. So we're exceeding it by 8% in terms of the local hire hours. Of the 50% local apprentice goal, we are at 61%. And of the 10% transitional worker goal, we are at 18%. So we are not only meeting, we are far exceeding those goals. But again, that is an overall thing. Some projects do extremely well. Some projects, they do okay, you know. And so for us, it's just about being able to have successful projects on a per project basis and let all of the projects come together, and then they represent those overall totals. So, and that's what the Bureau of Contract Administration is very much committed to. We're very much committed to the individual pieces to ensure that all of the projects individually are performing well, and then that makes the collective look that much better.
Thank you, Mr. Monte. I don't know if you're on the line, Mr. Hannon, but wanted to pose the same question to you. If we are exceeding our 30% goal of local hire, we're at 38%. Why in this new agreement did we maintain that same level for the next 10 years?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioner. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
So the reason, you know, as Ian stated, we're exceeding the goal for local residents as a whole. We're exceeding the goal for local apprentices and for targeted workers. In the new agreement, we've also included MC3 graduates, our MC3 partnerships between our Building Trades Council, our local union affiliates, and local school districts, community-based organizations, and community colleges. We're focused on more targeted recruitment. The reason why we left the local hire goal at 30%, of course, we want to exceed that. But here recently, we've had a very large project in the Inglewood football stadium that's located outside of the city limits of Los Angeles. And although Los Angeles is the driver for the county and for the, you know, in our eyes, the state as well, there are projects that do occur outside the city limits. And when we bring a new apprentice into our trades, we want to help ensure that we can keep them busy for their whole career. So that next project might be outside the city limits, and we want to make sure that we have a place for Los Angeles residents to work on all those projects. The same thing happens as well for that project in Inglewood. We would like for those Inglewood residents to be able to, when we bring them into the trade, to be able to, you know, do our best so that they can have a career of work ahead of them. That's why we have the local hire goals at reasonable goals like 30% and 50% for the apprentices. We want to exceed those. The new agreement with the addition of the MC3 students, we're going to hope to even do better yet. But the reason why we have those goals is so that we can have the agreements around the area also have similar goals, so that your Los Angeles residents can also work on those projects as well. And I can elaborate more if you want more than that, but that's a high-level explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon. So what I'm hearing is that 30% is really the floor, not the ceiling of what's possible. And that
Yes.
have a commitment to continue to increase those numbers and meet them, which you are, which we're also thankful for. And while I have you on the line, I know it feels like forever ago now, but it's about a year and a half since we did a listening session with you to really look at how do we improve more hiring, specifically of women in construction and women in the building trades. Just curious if there's going to be any efforts related to improving our number of female hires as it relates to forthcoming projects. And obviously that's not something that we can require a mandate, but just wanted to hear from you what efforts there are for more outreach, if any.
Sure. I'm actually happy you brought that up, and I remember our conversation. Our MC3 partnerships, our multi-craft core curriculum, if you look across all of our classes, and we're tracking all the students, we're tracking ethnicity, we're tracking residency, we're tracking gender. The last 2,680 students we offered the course to, 2,350 completed the course. Out of those 2,350, over 870 of them actually got into our local unions. They just didn't get into one or two local unions. They got into 29 different local unions and apprenticeship programs because we want to support the individual's choice. We want to give them all the information. We want to help them become confident, become ready, and we want to support them into their choice. When you break down the numbers of those 870 placements, 91% are individuals of color, 17% are identified as female, and although 17% is not an acceptable number, it's much better than we've done in the past with attracting women to consider our trades for their career. You know, I think our trades are great careers for everybody, but with our MC3 programs, the outreach that we're doing through the community, the coursework, the tours, the hands-on, it's a safe place to learn about our trades, and we're having much better success and many times more success through those programs and through that level of recruitment than we are just through general recruitment. So, you know, our numbers across the board, I can't give you an exact percentage, but if I had to say something, it's probably about 2% female participation through these classes. 17% of everyone getting placed is female, and we want to continue to do better. We have the data, and we can see that we're moving in the right direction, so we want to ramp that up. And by including that in this agreement, it's going to help us ramp that up even further.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hannon, and yeah, 17% is not, our target goal by any means, but that's definitely higher number than I believe what we had heard even a year and a half ago. And definitely want to continue to work with you outside of this to improve our hiring of women in construction, of course, in the building trades. And one of the things I did just want to thank is Diana Bolnes from our Public Affairs Office, who's been helping with our social media campaign to promote more women in construction through our Women Build LA series that we post about online just for this very reason. But I don't think I have any more questions for you, Mr. Hannon. I really look forward to seeing what results from this PLA, knowing that this is the same PLA that will take us into the Olympics. And, this is also the same PLA that will go into what will hopefully be an infrastructure bill in the coming months. And so there's a lot of opportunity on the table. And I just want to thank Mr. Monte again for also strengthening some of the language that we have in the preamble as it relates to gender and ethnicity and a few other underrepresented groups that we really want to bring forth and make sure benefit from this type of agreement. So that's it for me, President Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's that? Is that Ian?
I said thanks. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks, Commissioner Colosa. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate you jumping in and being helpful on this as well. My colleagues really asked the key questions. I think it's important to note, and Ian alluded to this. When the first Master Public Works Agreement was signed, for first Master Public Works Project Labor Agreement, the 5-year deal in 2010. this was really this was groundbreaking stuff. This was I believe, and Ian, Chris, disabuse me of this if I'm off, but this was really the first and largest master public work or project labor agreement in a public works department in the nation, or any like-size agency. Correct?
Lawa might disagree, but we can go with what you said.
Follow that boutique boutique proprietary. The City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works has been at the forefront on these issues, and to some of the questions that President Pro Tem Davis and Commissioner Pelosi hit on, and points that everyone has, we've also been at the forefront and due in no small part, and in fact in very large part, to the leadership of BCA Director John Reamer, Ian, Chris Hanna, Ron Miller, previous leadership from Robbie Hunter to Richard Slauson. There's been really great partnership between the Los Angeles and Orange County Building Trades and the City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works, not just on PLA, but making sure that that PLA really does address in ambitious and meaningful ways the need to ensure opportunity in our most vulnerable communities within the City of Los Angeles, the need to ensure that we are creative and aggressive in opening up those opportunities and coordinating those opportunities, and we continue to succeed. This agreement, which I think continues to build upon and improve upon the previous iterations, is a model of that. And I share Commissioner Pelosi's hopes and goal that the targeted hire, the targeted apprentice hours, and the transitional worker hours all continue to ramp up. And I know Chris, you and Ron are committed to that as well, and I certainly know the BCA is committed to that. I think this is an exciting item. I'm personally extraordinarily proud that this department has been the proverbial torchbearer on Master Public Works project labor agreements. And I continue to be proud of that, and I hope we all are. And I will, with great zeal, enthusiasm, and excitement, motion to approve the item as actually, let me retract that. I'm going to introduce an amendment to add a third recommendation, which would be, and Dr. Campos will use the language, to upon council and mayoral approval, recommend the council president or the board president or two members execute the final agreement. Dr. Campos, you get some language on that?
Yes, absolutely. We can go ahead and draft it in that manner. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
So it'd be to add recommendation number 3 to authorize the president or two members of the Board of Public Works to execute the project labor agreement after mayoral and city council approval. It would be subject, this report would be subject to mayor and city council approval as well. So it would technically be two amendments, Mr. President. One is to add the recommendation number 3 to authorize the president and two members of the board to sign, and then make the report subject to the mayor and city council's approval.
Okay. So I will offer that amendment with Dr. Campos's ultimate language, and then I will motion to move the item forward as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Dr. Campos, let's take a roll call on this one.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Voting tabulation roll call for item number 1, recommended to be approved as amended. President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza.
Aye.
and Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
Thank you. This motion carries unanimous and it is approved.
Fantastic. Commissioner Villegas, did you have a question?
I did, and it wasn't necessarily pertinent to the issue per se. I was just going to ask if our communications team was going to issue an advisory or a release on this item, seeing that it is, it's monumental and it's really big. And coming from the county, LA County, it's just imperative for us to be able to show other governments of the partnership and collaboration. And this wasn't overnight. There's 172 projects listed in the agreement with multiple unions, and it's not an easy task. And I know it's one that the county has grappled with in the past. That's why I'd like for this just to be shown in other media outlets, so that people can see and can learn.
I couldn't agree with you more. And if our PAO office is not thinking that yet, we certainly will make sure, because I think that I agree. By the way, perfectly timed too, leading into National Public Works Week next week as well. So I think that's great. It's a really great flag there, Teresa. Thank you. And I'm sorry I missed you. That was a Zoom casualty. If we're in person, I would have been able to see you, so I apologize. All right. Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Please thank also Mr. Reamer and Mr. Miller. This was, to Teresa's point, or Commissioner Villegas' point, excuse me, a labor of love. Unwrap that phrase all you want. It takes a lot of work to negotiate these agreements, and I know that Ian and Chris have been deeply involved. So thank y'all very much. And Ian, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just real quick. We're thanking a lot of people, and I want to thank two more people that just are flying under the radar. First, I want to thank Deputy City Attorney Hugo Rossiter, who's kind of laid the groundwork to all these different PLAs. Without him, some of these PLAs that we've done, including this one, wouldn't have been possible. But I also want to take the time to really, really, really thank Ted Jordan, because Ted is the legal advisor that helped us throughout this particular PLA. And without him and his legal just acumen all the way around, I don't know that this agreement would have gotten done the way that it did. And I don't know if it would have been as thorough. And so again, without Ted, this doesn't happen the way that it does. So I want to make sure that's on the record as well.
Okay, I have to talk now. So thank you, Ian. However, I only stood on the shoulder of a giant in our office, and that's Hugo. Because without Hugo's vision, we wouldn't have any PLAs. So I only had the privilege of kind of stepping in relatively late in the whole thing. So thank you, Ian. But I'm gonna push all that back onto Hugo in our office. Really deserves any and all praise for this. And by the way, I absolutely concur in the recommendations of BCA on the PLA. Let's put that out there. They've done a fantastic job.
Well, I'm going to agree with Ted. I think really we should thank Hugo, but we're not going to worry about Ted. I'm playing. Thank you, Ted. I know you were very involved, and Hugo is a king as well. So thank you, Ted. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, everybody. It is a really exciting day. It's a really exciting vote, and it's a really exciting win. So look forward to council hearing this as well.
Mr. Board President, could I also echo appreciation and thanks? Ian and you both summarized it very well. There's a lot of people that make this work. John Reamer over the years, Ian, the whole entire Bureau of Contract Administration. They have regular meetings with our Executive Secretary, Ron Miller, to look at ways to do better. We've had great leadership in our city. And I think Commissioner's idea to do a press release on it so that other local government can follow the leadership of the city of Los Angeles is a positive idea, and it will only help workers and help residents, really enjoy and get the product that their tax dollars are paying for and create opportunities. Hugo was a big part of the team, and like to also thank Ted. I'd also thank all of our local unions and the 140,000 members of the building trades for being inclusive and for their hard work every day on the project and welcoming those new apprentices within our trades and helping them learn the trades through our apprenticeship schools and on-the-job training. So again, thank you to the Board of Public Works, and thank you to everyone at the city for your great leadership.
You.
Thank you, Chris. Very much appreciate that. All right. Good stuff. Now let's move on to item number 2, and I think there was already a request. We could take 2, 3, and 4 together. I believe, Dr. Campos, that would require me to read all 3 of them into the record, correct? Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, everybody, get some coffee. Because we're going to take 2, unless there's any objections, folks. We'll take 2, 3, and 4 together, and I'm gonna hit the record. Y'all ready?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Item number 2. This is annual assessment for street lighting maintenance and operation 2021-22 Los Angeles City Lighting District assessments and district frozen since 1996. Recommending the board: 1, adopt and forward this report in transmittals to the city clerk and city council in accordance with section 6.98 of the administrative code of the city of Los Angeles, with the recommendations that A, council adopt this report in the ordinance of intention for the Los Angeles City Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District, LACLD, under which individual maintenance assessments and the composition of the district will remain substantially the same as in 2021, and therefore assessments will be exempt from the procedures and approval process, section 4 of Proposition 218, as allowed in section 5 of Proposition 218. No assessments will be increased and no properties will be added to this district, therefore no ballots will be required. B, proceedings for the maintenance of the LACLD for fiscal year 2021-22 be conducted in conformance with Division 6, Chapter 3, Article 1 of the Los Angeles Administrative Code, California Government Code, Section 53753.5, and Proposition 218, Articles 13C and 13D of the California State Constitution. At the conclusion of the council public hearing, assessments be confirmed in an ordinance levying the assessments be adopted. Confirmation of the assessments by July 31, 2021 is necessary to meet the county deadline for inclusion of the assessments on the 2021-22 property tax bills. And 2, submit a copy of this report in its transmittals to the city administrative officer for review and comment prior to your board's public hearing per the request of the 1987 management audit of the Bureau of Street Lighting. Item 3, annual assessment for street lighting maintenance and operation for 2020-2021, 1996 through 1997 Z series street lighting maintenance assessment districts of 1996-97 only, assessments and district frozen since 1996. Recommending the board: 1, adopt and forward this report in transmittals to the city clerk and city council in accordance with section 6.98 of the administrative code of the city of Los Angeles, with the recommendations that A, council adopt this report in the ordinance of intention under which individual maintenance assessments, the total amount assessed, and the boundaries of the districts will remain the same as they were in 1996, 1997, and be exempt from the procedures and approval process, section 4 of Proposition 218, as allowed in Section 5 of Proposition 218 for 2020-2021. No assessments will be increased and no properties will be added to these districts, therefore no balance will be required. And B, proceedings for the maintenance of 92 separate street lighting maintenance districts for fiscal year 2020-2021 be conducted in conformance with Division 6, Chapter 3, Article 1 of the Administrative Code, California Government Code, Section 53753.5, and Proposition 218, Articles 13C and 13D of the California State Constitution. At the conclusion of the council public hearing, assessments will be confirmed and an ordinance levying the assessments be adopted. And item 4, annual assessment for street lighting maintenance and operations of 2021-2022. Proposition 218 confirmed street lighting maintenance assessment districts confirmed after Prop 218. Recommending the board adopt and forward this report and transmittals to the city clerk and city council in accordance with section 6.98 of the Administrative Code of the City of Los Angeles, with recommendations that A, council adopt this report in the 2 ordinances of intention, under which the boundary of the district is the same as its component district's boundaries. The individual maintenance assessments are increased by 1.62%, the amount of the increase in the local consumer price index for 2020, as allowed in their original ordinances. And this district is therefore exempt from the procedures and approval process, Section 4 of Proposition 218, as allowed in Section 5 of Proposition 218 for 2021-2022. Assessment ballots are therefore not required. And B, proceeding for the maintenance of the street lighting maintenance district for the fiscal year 2021-2022 be conducted in conformance with Division 6, Chapter 3, Article 1 of the Administrative Code, California Government Code, Section 53753.5, and Proposition 218, Articles 13C and 13D of the California State Constitution. At the conclusion of the council public hearing, assessments be confirmed and an ordinance levying the assessments be adopted. That's items 2, 3, and 4. We will take these items together. Ruben Flamenco from the Bureau of Street Lighting is here to present on these 3 items. Take it away, sir.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting. Before I begin, I'd like to request the board regarding item 2 to remove stipulation number 2, that a copy of this report and its transmittals be submitted to the CAOs for review and comment prior to the board's public hearing per the request in the 1987 management audit of the Bureau of Street Lighting. I've been coming to the board since 2009 to renew the Bureau's annual street lighting maintenance assessments, and this stipulation has not been included in any previous year. I'm a little bit uncertain why it's being included this particular year, but if possible, if we can remove that stipulation, I'd like to make the request to remove that stipulation number 2 for item number 2.
Okay.
Second, on item number 3, just a correction. On page 1 of the board report, under fiscal impact statement, the assessment revenue figure of $123,290, that number should be $114,468. And similarly, on page 2, paragraph 1, under summary discussion, the second sentence, the $123,290 figure should be $114,468. With that in mind, items 2, 3, and 4 pertain to the annual assessments for street lighting maintenance and operation for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Confirmation of the assessments by July 31st, 2021 is necessary for the County of Los Angeles to accept and include our assessments for collection on the 2021-2022 property tax bills. We are requesting for the board to adopt these reports and ordinances of intentions and forward them forthwith to City Council. Upon adoption of these reports and ordinances of intention, the required protest hearings may be scheduled. One protest hearing at the Board of Public Works and one protest hearing at City Council. So we will return on this item to the board in approximately 4 weeks to have the official public protest hearing. Thereafter, the board and City Council may vote to confirm the assessments and adopt a final ordinance ordering for the street lighting maintenance assessments to be levied. Approval of items 2 as amended without stipulation number 2 the CEO's review. And approval of item 3 as amended with the assessment revenue of $114,468 versus the $123,290 figure that's in the report. And approval of item 4 will result in assessment revenue of approximately $45,787,000 to the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund for the upcoming 2021-2022 fiscal year. Notably, item 2, the Los Angeles City Lighting District, rates frozen since 1996 with no inflation index, consisting of approximately 510,000 parcels, $42,124,040 versus $42,370,720 in the 2020-21 fiscal year. Item 3, the 1996-1997 Z Series, rates frozen since 1997 with no inflation index, consisting of approximately 1,673 parcels, $114,468 versus $123,290 in the 2020-21 fiscal year. And item 4, the Prop 218 confirmed lighting district, rates unfrozen with an inflation index consisting of approximately 37,110 parcels, $3,548,492 versus $3,821,990 for the 2020-21 fiscal year. The individual maintenance assessments for the 37,110 parcels in item 4 are increased by 1.62%, which is the consumer price index for long calendar year as determined by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This increase is for lighting districts created post-1996, post the passage of Proposition 218. For reference, the CPI for the 2019 calendar year was 3.07%, and for 2018, the CPI was 3.81%. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. Appreciate that. Colleagues, let's open up questions. Commissioner Closa?
Thank you, President Good. I thought Mr. Flamenco did a nice job with his report. I don't have any questions for these items. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. President Pro Tem Davis?
I don't have any questions at this point in time on any of the items.
Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you for that, President Good. My only question was just the removal section for the assessments. I think he mentioned just to remove one of the transmittals.
On item 2, the stipulation number 2 that requests that a copy of the report and its transmittal be submitted to the CAO's office for review.
Yeah.
We have not had to do that additional step in previous years, and I've been doing this since 2009. I'm uncertain why that stipulation is being included for this particular year, but if possible, I'd like to request that we remove that review and that stipulation.
Okay. And my question was for Mr. Jordan. Is that okay if we make that?
Yes.
Move to grant that? Okay. Okay. That was, mine was just technical. Okay. Then maybe we can do that as an amendment. Okay. Thank you. I have no questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any other questions. I'm wondering if we're using, this is in lieu also piggybacking on Commissioner Villegas' point. I'm wondering if we're using some kind of old template on this, because one of the questions we had before was the title on it. It was just slightly different too than previous assessment items. So, Dr. Campos, do we know we're probably using some kind of older template at this time?
President, Vice President Garcia Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, that question should be more directed to the bureaus. They prepare the reports. We do have different types of assessments that come to the board every every year, and some come to us every quarter. So that would be deferred to the Bureau in terms of what template they use and whether they may have 2 or 3 different templates. My assumption is that, yes, they do have them. My understanding is that the audit that is referred in recommendation number 2 on item number 2 was from an audit that occurred from the Controller's Office back in the 1980s, I believe. And that was a recommendation to forward those to the CAO for fiscal impact or any type of impact that the city may have at that time. Granted, it's been almost 30 years, and if Mr. Flamenco indicates that it has not been added in the future, I would support that to remove that at this time. So again, the templates are really at the Bureau level, and we can work with the Bureau to determine how many templates they have, but I would assume they have at least 2 or 3 templates.
Yeah, maybe for future reference, Mr. Flamenco, maybe we can just cross-check so that we are up to date with, kind of the language that usually comes to board. But that's all. Thank you, Dr. Campos, for that clarification as well. And thank you, Ted, for answering Commissioner Villegas' question as well. So, Ruben, thank you for your report. You always do a very good and thorough job on making sure we understand our assessment, our lighting assessments. I don't have any real questions. I just also was a technical question for me.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Yeah, it does seem like an odd addition. So thank you, and thank you, Ruben, for the presentation. Appreciate it. Know that this is actually literally where the proverbial rubber hits the road for the Bureau of Street Lighting. So this is crucial, and I know timing counts. Do I have a motion to amend to strike recommendation 2 from item number 3?
So move.
Is it
Second.
I 2 or 3? I'm sorry, real quick, y'all.
2.
Two is correct.
Okay, so I've got
Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, I'm hearing 2 amendments potentially that the board may consider. One on item number 2 to remove or to delete recommendation number 2, not to forward the report to the CAO's office. And on item number 3 to revise the assessment value of the on page 2 of the report from $123,290 down to $114,468.
Right.
Those are the 2 amendments that I heard, and I can be corrected if I'm incorrect by Mr. Flamenco. But those
That's
are the
correct,
2 that the board may.
Yeah,
That's correct. That's correct.
So Vice President Garcia, are you prepared to introduce both of those amendments?
Yes, sir. Just
Point of clarification, Mr. President. The justification for not sending it to was it CAO's office? Was it, Mr.
Yes.
What was the reason? What was the justification for that? My laptop has been going in and out, and I apologize for the gaps in sound.
As I mentioned, I've been coming to the board since 2009 to renew the Bureau's annual street lighting assessments, and we've never had that stipulation in any of the previous years, and I'm uncertain why it's being included for this particular year.
Okay.
It seems to me, I mean, I support the amendment. It seems a very obscure and perfunctory, or just something that got added in. And
yeah.
The levels of review on this are deep. It seems unnecessary.
Yeah, we still got to go to city council. We're still returning to the board next month, and then city council, and then the mayor's office.
Yeah.
Okay.
And frankly, there's no time for delay.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so, but President Pro Tem Davis is concerned, certainly lay that in. But I think I've got a motion to make 2 amendments, or two motions to amend from Vice President Garcia. 1 to strike recommendation 2 from item 2, and 1 to change the revenue amount basically anticipated on item 3. Any objections to those amendments? And do I have a motion to approve the item as amended?
So move.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns or objections, Villegas or Closa? All right. Hearing no concerns or objections, the item is adopted forthwith as adopted as amended forthwith. And thank you, Mr. Flamenco. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Got all that, Dr. Campos? Good deal. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Let's, colleagues, I want to take a quick 5-minute recess, or call for a 5-minute recess. We will return at 11:25 in the AM.
Okay.
We're not hearing you, Fernando. Though you look unmuted.
That's funny. I heard him just a second ago. President Good.
Yeah, I heard him too.
There we go.
Oh, maybe
Oh, wait, yeah.
you can hear me, but not.
You're not. I remembered you're not in the building either. So. All right, we ready? You want to reestablish quorum, Dr. Campos?
Absolutely. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, it's 11:34 a.m. Establishing quorum again, or reestablishing quorum. You're not hearing me.
You know what? I just realized mine was on mute.
Okay.
Apologize. That is totally me. Wow, that was totally me. I apologize.
Next time I'm going to just mute myself and then make you believe that I'm actually speaking.
We refer to that as operator error.
That's right. That is an operator error. Happy Friday, everybody. That's all I can say. Sorry, Dr. Campos.
All right, it's still 11:34, so we'll reestablish quorum at 11:34. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum.
All right, great. Thank you very much. What I would like to do, colleagues, is I'd like to go ahead and move to item number 17, our special, or item number 17. Or Dr. Campos, do we need to start over on that?
We actually do. Now that we opened up the regular meeting, we have to close the meeting and then reopen the special.
All right, hold and let's do this. What I'd like to do is let's take items. I know there was a request to pull item number 11, correct? So let's take items 8, 9, and 10 together. And I will read those. Do we have our present? That was also a request to take those together, correct?
Only 9 and 10 because they're connected to Union Station. 8 is a separate standalone.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. 8 is it's a revocable permit, but it's a different one. Okay. We'll take 8 real quick.
And Mr. President, just for clarification, item 11, no objections to withdraw the item.
No objections. Yeah, unless anybody, am I hearing any? Okay, so we'll withdraw item number 11. Let's take item 8. Item 8 is a revocable permit encroachment in the public right-of-way, 4517 East Cleveland Avenue. Existing garage, entry steps, a retaining wall, and landscaping. Recommending the board, 1, authorize the city engineer to issue a revocable permit to encroach within the public way, subject to the conditions listed. Encroachments. A, portion of existing garage to be rebuilt with the maximum height of 8 feet 9 inches. B, portion of existing entry steps. C, portion of an existing 56-inch high retaining wall. D, existing landscaping. And E, existing driveway. Wesley, are you here on this item?
Yes, I am.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, President Good and Commissioners. Wesley Tenajuri, Central District Engineer. The item before you is at 4517 Cleveland Avenue. It's a revocable permit request to allow an existing garage to be rebuilt and reconstructed on the same footprint. It's an existing structure that has been there for several years. The roadway that it is constructed along is in the hillside area. However, the roadway is 25 feet wide, which is greater than the minimum 20-foot minimum width for roadways in the hillside area. So there's a minimal risk of any requirements for widening in that area. So we're recommending approval for revocable to allow the structure to be rebuilt, and along with the other items you mentioned, the landscaping, the steps, and the wall to remain as is. There's no controversy that we're aware of. As I mentioned, it's been there for several years. We've discussed this with Council District 1, and we have been in contact with, Gerald Gubaton, and he has concurred with our recommendation. I can answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks, Mr. Tenjeri. Colleagues, Commissioner Villegas, do you have any questions or thoughts?
No, I am good. Thank you. Thank you for your report, Mr. Tenjeri.
Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
I'm fine with the recommendation of the department, of the Bureau.
Thank you, sir. Vice President Garcia.
Sorry, I was looking at the property on my on Google, seeing what we were talking about. No, I'm actually okay. But Wesley, how long has this property been in our public right of way?
I know they had an old building and safety permit. I don't know the date, but if you look at the figure, it's very old. And
yeah, that's why I'm asking.
So it's been there for several years. I don't know how many, but several years.
Okay, understood. I have no concerns or questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Closa.
Thank you, President Good. No questions for me. I thought Mr. Tenjeri did a nice job summarizing the request, and I'm sure the property owner will be happy with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Yeah, I have no questions. It was a very thorough report. Really appreciate it, Wesley. And I'll take a motion to move this revocable permit forward.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. First by Commissioner Closa, seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns or questions, Villegas or Garcia?
None.
All right. The hearing no objections, the item is adopted and approved and moved forthwith. Thank you very much, Mr. Tenjeri. Go Dodgers. I'm going to go to the game tomorrow. Thanks. All right, colleagues, let's move to then we'll take items 9 and 10 together. Item 9 is revocable permit encroachment in the public right-of-way, 800 North Alameda Street, Los Angeles Union Station, Forecourt and Esplanade Improvements Project. Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority revocable permit reference number 202000177, recommending the board 1, authorize the city engineer to issue a revocable permit to encroach within the public way subject to the conditions listed encroachments. A, 17 trees in non-standard tree wells along the east side of Alameda Street between Cesar Chavez Avenue and Arcadia Street. B, existing landscaping not limited to shrubs, vines, and ground covers along the east side of Alameda Street, mid-block between Cesar Chavez Avenue and Arcadia Street. C, irrigation system along the east side of Alameda Street between Cesar Chavez Avenue and Arcadia Street. And D, 3 existing columns with Union Station signage along the east side of Alameda Street between Los Angeles Street and Arcadia Street. Item 10 is a revocable permit encroachment in the public right-of-way, 750 North Alameda Street, Los Angeles Union Station, Forecourt and Esplanade Improvements Project, First 5 LA, revocable permit reference number 20200000301, recommending the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revocable permit to encroach within the public way, subject to the conditions listed. Encroachments encroaching up to 3 feet into the public right of way along Alameda Street between Los Angeles Street and Arcadia Street. A, landscaping not limited to shrubs, vines, and ground covers. B, irrigation system. C, existing 6-foot high fence. Mr. Tenjuri, are you also here on this item?
Yes, sir.
All right, why don't you walk us through here? This is obviously a complex project.
Morning again, President Good and Commissioners. Wesley Tanajuri, Bureau of Engineering, Central District Office. There were 3 reports originally submitted, and they were submitted together because they're all part of the MTA's forecourt and Esplanade project to do these streetscape improvements in the area. They were separated because for the revocable permit, because the property owners are responsible for maintenance of and liability of these non-standard items. So they were separated for MTA, First 5 LA, and El Pueblo. And the El Pueblo report was pulled because we need to do some additional investigation and research, getting approvals from the El Pueblo Commission that wasn't received prior. So that's why that one was removed. The encroachments are very similar between the 3. They're mainly streetscape improvements, as discussed earlier, landscaping, irrigation, some sidewalk, non-standard sidewalk improvements, trees. There are some bollards as well and some bike lane reconfigurations. So they're all very similar between the 3 projects. All of the streetscape projects were presented and approved by City Planning and DOT, as well as our Bureau of Engineering Metro Division. They did the plan review for BOE. To our knowledge, there weren't any other controversies, so we are bringing this to the board because of the size and scope of the work, and I can answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Tenjuri. Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, President Good, and thank you, Wesley, for your report. Just, wouldn't it be, and this is an open question to, I guess, either our city attorney or Wesley, wouldn't it be better if we hold all the items into the El Pueblo Commission, takes a look at everything? Or, I mean, I understand that this is one piece of it and that's another piece. I get that. But wouldn't it just be better if they get to see the whole picture before we move it forward? And maybe I'm wrong, and I apologize if I am, but.
So our Bureau of Engineering Metro Group is like the project manager. We discussed it with them, and they felt that it would be best to move forward with the other 2 to allow those to possibly go to construction, and hopefully the 3rd one, the El Pueblo, would get approved and be able to go to construction not too far after.
And that's because that's on El Pueblo side, right? And this is pretty much across the street from.
Correct.
I get it. I don't know. Part of me still thinks that they should be able to see the whole picture and make comments out of that, because their foot traffic and their constituency plays both parts. You know, they get out of the metro station, they cross the street, they go to the Pueblo and back and forth, a lot of their folks. But that might just be me alone seeing that. But other than that, you did a great job in explaining it, of course. And let me ask you another question. This 6 feet wall or fence that we're talking about, can you tell me what it's going to look like? Like, what is it going to be made out of? Is it going to have some kind of a decorative type of look to it, or what type of material you're using to use this fence to make this wall?
I believe we have reps from MTA that may have additional information about that. I don't know. And is anybody here from Metro?
Yes. Hi. Good morning, everyone. Elizabeth Carvajal here, Senior Director with Metro. Our design team is on the call, I believe. Marcy, if you are still on, if not, I can see if she is. There you go. Thank you, Marcy.
Yes, hi, this is Marcy Anderson from Gruen Associates. We're the prime consultant hired by Metro for this project. The fence, I believe the fence you're asking about is actually an existing fence that runs along the first side of LA building. That fence was originally installed when that was private property. I believe sometime in the early 2000s, a 9-foot dedication set the property line back further, which then left that existing fence to be in the new public right-of-way area. Hopefully that answers your question. It is a metal fence, and there's a large hedge that's kind of grown in front of it right now.
So thank you. So that fence is currently there now, right?
That's correct, yes. And we would just be keeping it in place and not removing it.
Okay, understood. I don't have any other questions. I just that was my initial concern about the whole project and scope, and giving the commissioners of El Pueblo the chance to see the entire project. But I understand the separate issues here. So for now, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good, and thank you for your foreign work on this, Mr. Tangieri. I know this is a large streetscape project that Metro is trying to, do in addition to other improvements at Union Station. I just want to follow up on a question that Vice President Garcia raised. Can you share the construction timeline for these two items before us?
I would also, again, have to defer to the MTA reps if they have that schedule with them.
That would be great.
Again, this is Marcy Anderson. I believe construction is currently scheduled to begin in the fall of 2022. And we're anticipating an approximate construction timeline of about 1 to 2 years.
Muted myself. So you still have a bit of time until you actually begin construction. And wanted to ask you, has Metro done any outreach to the El Pueblo community and the El Pueblo Commission?
Marcy, this is Elizabeth. I can answer that. Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Carvajal. I'm a senior director with Metro. This project has been something we've been working on with surrounding communities since about 2012. After we purchased Union Station, we started a broader planning process around Union Station, and one of those things we did was really thinking about how people get to transit in this community. So we developed a plan called the Connectus Action Plan that was driven by stakeholders that were really thinking about active transportation and mobility around Union Station, El Pueblo, Civic Center, Little Tokyo. So these improvements are really a reflection of what stakeholders said they wanted to see in their communities and how they wanted to access Union Station. And one of the key things we learned is that the connection from Union Station to El Pueblo is a critical connection, because from there you traverse to other communities, to Little Tokyo, Civic Center, Chinatown. So this was really that linchpin connection. So all of these improvements have been really deeply engaged through the concept level, the environmental impact report level, the design. We are at final design now, and one thing I will note is this project is funded through the Caltrans Active Transportation Program. We secured about $18 million to implement these improvements. So securing all of these final approvals are really important for us to get our construction allocation. So while construction does start fall of 2022, there's a series of requirements and approvals and permits that we need to get in place to get our construction funding. So the sooner that we nail down all of our permits and approvals, the better. But yes, stakeholder engagement has been critical. In particular, with El Pueblo, we have met with the commission, with the merchants, with the museums. They are a key partner and have been very much engaged throughout the entire process. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks for sharing that. 2 follow-up questions for you. So I know you mentioned, I appreciate all the stakeholder engagement that you've done, but so you've been talking to them, but you haven't officially received their support?
Oh yes, we have support. So when we've had support from the commission, from the merchants, in particular when we did the environmental impact report for the project, the merchants themselves prepared a comment letter specifically supporting the alternative or the project you see before you today. So yes, we have support. It was submitted in writing during the EIR process. And again, we've engaged them through every step of the process. We work very closely with El Pueblo, the commission, general manager, et cetera. So this has been a very collaborative effort throughout the entire process.
Okay, so I guess then I'm a little confused. Why are we continuing the other item if you're saying that we've already received official support from El Pueblo Commission?
So I'm not quite clear. I will defer to BOE staff on the mechanics of the approval that are needed to move that item. I can't speak to that, but yes, we've been working with them through every step of the process. So I will defer to staff to answer the process needed to take that item forward.
So as part of the submittals sent to us regarding approvals, we received a letter that was from the general manager of the El Pueblo, not from the commission, like an approval from the actual commission, El Pueblo Commission. So that's why we were working with the BOE Metro group to get those approvals from the El Pueblo Commission directly. And if it is there, then, you know, we will try to get a copy of that.
Okay, so we're just unclear whether, I guess I'm a little unclear now whether or not there's official support. And I guess, and I know Metro is saying one thing and we're saying that we need to continue the other item to get the letter. And maybe one last follow-up question for me for Metro. So you mentioned that this is, Caltrans ATP grant. Is there an upcoming grant deadline that you guys are all trying to meet, or is that not until later in the
Yes, so we are currently, as I noted, have approved for construction final design plans and are working through our right-of-way and utility certification process, which has to be initiated once your design efforts are completed. So we have to have that process done by the end of the year. And it is a very lengthy process. So if we don't complete all of that, if design changes or there's adjustments, we could lose our construction funding. So at this point, we are in final design, working through the right-of-way and utility certification process required through Caltrans that we have to finish by the end of, I think September is our goal, but it has to be done by the end of the year. And it's just a very, very lengthy and involved process.
Okay, thank you for sharing that deadline. So it seems like I know that's close. You know, we're in mid-May and September is still a few months away, and that's it. I know how long these approvals take. I will say that I look forward to hearing what my other colleagues think, but I would be inclined to continue these two items to kind of clarify this piece about El Pueblo Commission. I think there's a little uncertainty there, at least from my end, and I don't want to speak for Vice President Garcia, but I see her nodding her head as well. And I also want to say too, and I appreciate that there's been stakeholder engagement on this, but I did just want to say that I appreciate the connections that we're trying to make, of course, and improve the pathways for pedestrians, of course, and bicyclists. I am a little concerned about the traffic that this project may cause, only because we are taking away a traffic lane, right, Wesley?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we're taking away a traffic lane on a critical part in front of Union Station. I know you've all done the analysis on this, but I just wanted to voice my concern on that piece. But I yield the rest of my time and look forward to hearing what my colleagues think.
Thanks, Commissioner Coloso. President Pro Tem Davis?
Okay, so just to clarify where we are, there is an executive concern on the table from the executive over at El Pueblo. And as a result of that, we want to resolve beyond a shadow of a doubt the concern that has been raised by him or her. And so as we look at the three motions, the department is recommending that we move forward on the first two and then hold the last one until such time we resolve the executive concern that has been raised to us. Is that correct, Wesley?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Is it executive concern, or is it we haven't gotten the agreement of the commission? I thought that we had them.
Yeah, you are correct. It was that we got, they had approval from the general manager, but there wasn't any written approval from the El Pueblo Commission that was presented to us.
So respectfully, I would offer that distinction, President Pro Tem Davis.
Okay, so now I was, there have been many people who have had remarks on this. The young lady who just spoke stated that the El Pueblo Commission had approved it. Is that correct?
We do have Mark Wisa. He's from our BPW Metro division. I believe he's on, and he can provide some additional clarification.
Okay, but didn't the young lady who just spoke say that they had?
I noted. Sorry
yes.
about. Forgive me for interrupting. I noted that we had support from El Pueblo. We've gone to the commission several times. We have support from the museums, but there has yet not been a formal action to say from the commission we support this. But they have been supportive of the project over the few years that we've been working with them.
Okay.
That hopefully clarifies the response.
Okay, got it. So basically, where we are though is, as these three motions are before us, it's the recommendation that we move forward progressively with the first two, where there is no concern having been raised, and that the one in which we have not fully resolved it to completion and to our satisfaction, that we hold that one until such time we're able to do that. So the whole idea about all three of them being together, the department, you all didn't present all three of them together, did you? Wesley?
Regarding what?
The motion, regarding the motions before the board. They don't have to all, obviously they don't have to all three be together, or we wouldn't be recommending that we hold one back, right?
Correct. It is one project from MTA. However, there are three separate revocable permit motions because there are three separate property owners. That's the only reason why it was separated.
Right. So am I clear that currently the recommendation is that we move the first two and hold the third one back until such time the issue is resolved? Is that correct?
That's the Bureau recommendation.
Correct.
That's what I wanted to be clear that was. Okay.
Yes.
So if that is the case, my understanding is that we're moving the other one forward so that we can begin the progress on the project. And even though the third one is unresolved, until such time we resolve it, we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to really be clear about the agreement from the El Pueblo there. So I would support the Bureau's recommendation that we move forward on those for which we have no questions and for which we have no concern, and then allow them the opportunity to process or complete the process for the remaining one involving El Pueblo Commission.
Okay. Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. I believe Vice President Garcia was a question, and then I'm going to come to you, Commissioner Villegas. Did you have a quick follow-up, Vice President Garcia?
No, I was trying to make the distinction to Mr. Davis that these two are across the street. But I also want to say that I agree with my colleague, Commissioner Colosa, which is what I brought up at the beginning, that it's very unclear if the Pueblo commissioners have taken a stab at this project. Have they made any recommendations or modifications, or are they completely in approval with this? I wouldn't want to encroach on their area, for lack of a better word, but I wouldn't want to encroach in their area, because at the end of the day, this is one big, massive project. And so, I understand why it's broken up into pieces, but I also feel like it is one big project. So that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, and I appreciate Commissioners Garcia and Colosa's comments. It's fitting that we're talking about this today. taking a class on governance and collaborative-based approach, and it just deals with a lot of, it'll probably be reminiscent to you, Commissioner Garcia, but it's a lot of just input from the community to be able to resolve and negotiate, consensus building on difficult issues as we have at stake today. Having said that, I just wanted to, I don't have a problem either, continuing it, just to be able to get more clarity on this, on that specifically to item 11, and being able to just to move that forward when everybody's, letters are in, or everybody's, in consensus to doing this. I do want to just point out that, I don't think it's in the grander scheme. We are most likely going to move forward with that. However, as a technocrat that I am, I think we can still move this forward without necessarily having that commission's approval, because we wouldn't negate this from going forward if something's in writing that says that we need to have this commission's approval to go forward. But for full transparency, I think that to give our commission the full autonomy and having more information, I think it would be helpful to postpone either for a week. We're not trying to belabor this at all whatsoever, but I just think for just to have more information, I think it would be helpful. That is all. That was just a comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. You're certainly right. Our actions here today or ever are not subject to or contingent upon the support or the approval of another commission, or in this case, the El Pueblo Commission. But yeah, I think the spirit of Colosa and Garcia and your comments is really about sort of that, to your point, collaborative respect in terms of them having that opportunity. Let me just ask one quick logistical question. What is the practical import, Wesley, and forgive me if this has already been asked, of continuing this for a week?
We can. It's just that the BOE Metro group, they're working with the El Pueblo Commission to get that, and we don't know for sure what that timeline is. So. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I will support. Do I have a motion to continue?
I want to, wait a minute. Let me understand. When you say continue, is it all three of them, or is it the two?
They've already pulled. This would be a motion to continue items 9 and 10. 11's already been pulled.
Okay.
For now, and so what we.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So what we could do is subsequently re-agendize all three.
I think, my position was that I think that those are ready to go, and I have no problems letting them go and working on the one that needs the help, which is the 11th one that has been pulled. That's my position on it.
Okay. Well, let's vote. I've got a motion from Colosa to continue items 9 and 10. So Dr. Campos, let's vote on that.
I would need more clarity on that motion, Commissioner Colosa. If you'd like to state to what date would you like these items to be moved to, 9 and 10?
I think really what we're looking for is just, clarification on that support from El Pueblo, and I'd be happy to work with the Metro team and, of course, Mr. Chanjiri on working with the commission. One of the current president right now is David Louis, who's an Asian American, and I would like to understand too, to what extent they've seen this project. So I would say, to be safe, maybe would 2 weeks be a big delay to this project, Mr. Tanjiri, or do you think that would be in line with, it would still allow you all to meet your deadlines?
If it's okay with the board, Mark Wisa, he's from the BOE Metro Division. He will probably have some more information that might be able to answer your questions. I believe he's on. If he could unmute.
Hi, Wesley. Hi, commissioners. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
sir.
This is Mark Wisa of the Bureau of Engineering, Metro Trains Division. I apologize for the confusion, for the clarity on the board reports. I'll just give you guys a very brief background. So those three items, 9, 10, 11, are related to non-standard items maintenance, part of the Metro project. And item 11 specifically was for the items that Pueblo would be responsible to operate and maintain. And the reason why that item was requested to be withdrawn is because we at BOE were going down the path of doing a revocable permit with Pueblo. However, in the last month, we consulted with Pueblo's legal counsel and the city attorney's office, and we were advised to proceed with a non-binding interdepartmental agreement. So the reason why that item was requested to be withdrawn is because our office with Metro Trains Division BOE is drafting a maintenance agreement with Pueblo's general manager and Pueblo's legal counsel. So it should not have anything to do, in my opinion, it doesn't have anything to do with items 9 and 10 and to move forward with the maintenance. It's just a process that will take a little bit more time to develop a maintenance agreement for Pueblo.
Thank you for that additional information. I don't think it changes the motion that I want to proceed with. Can you give us what the timeline that would be feasible to continue this item? Would 2 weeks be sufficient, or would that seriously delay this project? I know the deadlines for the Caltrans grant aren't until September.
I think if we're speaking just about item 11, I think I personally would think something closer to maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks.
And so just to clarify, item 11's continued already. This is in regards to the other 2 items. So we're not talking about item 11. We're talking about the other 2 items, and we want to continue them to get concurrence from the Pueblo Commission.
I have a point of clarification, Mr. Chair.
Can I finish?
Yeah, I have a point of clarification, though. Do we follow parliamentary procedures or not?
Oh, you're on mute, President Good.
President Pro Tem Davis, let's let Commissioner Colosa just finish, and then then we'll get your point of clarification for sure.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. It appears that Commissioner Galoza is trying to gauge how long should the motion be for the continuation, whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And I'm not getting any clarity from the Bureau of Engineering.
Yeah.
One option that you could consider, Commissioner Colosa, is to set a date 2 weeks from now, and then it would be on advisement 2 weeks from now. And if the Bureau is unable to provide you an update, the board at that time can consider another continuation.
Okay. I would like to proceed with 2 weeks pending whatever President Good is about to say.
I just want to know, okay, so you want to proceed with the motion for 2 weeks, 9 and 10. President Pro Tem Davis, what was your point of clarification?
Yeah, I wasn't clear in our discussion that 11 is going to take 6 weeks before they resolve it. Is that what I heard, or am I not hearing?
No. The 6 to 8 weeks is what? BOE.
The 60 weeks is for the draft maintenance agreement that is currently between Bureau of Engineering and Pueblo.
Oh.
Is that what item is it affecting? Is it affecting item 11, 9, or 10? 11?
It is affecting item number 11.
Okay, so here's my issue. I wasn't clear that if that one takes that window of time, that has impact upon progressing on the items for the first 2. Is my point here. And I only asked for a point of clarification because that information wasn't clear to me before we had these deliberations.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair and helpful. Yes, Commissioner Villegas.
Just also for a little bit of clarification and just more information here. The agreement that's being done, and we've already pulled item 11, so it's not for discussion, right? But just want a point of clarification. The agreement that's being done with El Pueblo and with is it between BOE or is it Metro?
It's
between BOE.
BOE, okay. And do you know the process for that agreement? Does that agreement go to the commission? Who approves that?
As far as I understand from the point, I think they will distribute that to the city attorney's office and El Pueblo's legal counsel. I am not sure if that will go to a public commission.
Okay.
Sure, this is Ted. We do have a separate general counsel attorney who has been looking at this matter. So there's really two issues. There's this agreement, which is not going to be a binding contract because the city can't contract with itself regarding the maintenance. And then there's also, so the question is, who has the authority to sign that? That may just be the general manager. However, there's also a code provision in the Administrative Code, section 22.626, that requires the board of the Pueblo Department to approve certain improvements in the public right of way in the areas sort of immediately adjacent to the Pueblo area. And that's specifically an authority that they have over the public right of way, as the code says, in order to maintain and enhance the ambiance and character of the monument. So there's sort of board issues for what's going on in the public right of way in that area immediately adjacent to a Pueblo. And I think that's a board approval that they need to have if they don't have it already. And then there's also the approval of this kind of maintenance agreement. And I'm not entirely sure whether the board has to approve that or the general manager. But this is all one thing. So
right. So on that, there is enough lack of clarity when even Ted Jordan says I'm unsure. That says I'm unsure, and so I want to entertain Commissioner Colosa's motion to continue items 9 and 10. 11's already been withdrawn. We will continue for 2 weeks. If in the interim there is inadequate clarity, then we'll continue it again. But we need to get some clarity on this, and clearly the board is curious and would like more. So let's do a roll call, Dr. Campos, on Commissioner Colosa's motion to continue.
And Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, not to add more complexity to the matter, 2 weeks from now would be Friday, May 28th. That is an unpaid holiday for the city of Los Angeles. Many of us will be out of the office, with a very few of you that may be in the office. So my suggestion to Commissioner Colosa, if it's a friendly suggestion, to possibly set the date as Wednesday, June 2nd or Friday, June 4th. That would put you about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks.
Let's do the later date. I believe El Pueblo Commission meets twice a month. So try to get this agenda.
Friday, June 4th.
So Friday, June 4th?
Great.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding and hearing correctly, there's been a motion to continue items number 8, 9, and 10 to Friday, June 4th. That was moved by Commissioner Colosa. Is there a second on that motion?
I second
Commissioner
it.
Good, is that, okay. So moved by Colosa, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. We will take the vote and roll call for the item. President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
No.
No. Great. Commissioner Villegas
Aye.
and Commissioner Colosa.
Aye.
The result is 4 yeas, 1 no. That motion carries. The items will be continued to Friday, June 4th, items 9 and 10.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, colleagues. What I would like to do now, however awkward it may be, is like to close this meeting, adjourn this meeting briefly, Dr. Campos, open up the special, take item number 17, and then we'll come back to this agenda afterwards.
President Good, this is Ted. If I may make a friendly request,
Yeah.
I think what you are intending to do is to briefly recess the board's regular meeting, and then open up the special meeting, and then at the conclusion of the special meeting, that meeting will then be adjourned, and then we'll go back into the recessed regular
Okay,
meeting.
so all we have to do is recess. We don't have to adjourn.
Correct. When you adjourn the meeting, it'll be over.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I will amend my request / instruction. We will recess the meeting for this meeting right now, and we will. I would like to open up the special meeting, specifically item number 17, right now. Dr. Campos, do we have quorum for that?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We are now in recess for the regular meeting. We will now open up the special meeting. It is 12:19 in the morning, and establishing roll call and quorum for the special meeting for today, Friday, May 14th. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum for the special meeting. As a reminder, we do have 2 callers on the line for item number 17. We also received through 3 Google commentary forms that were distributed to all commissioners and 1 email that was distributed to all commissioners as well with the letter.
Hold 1 second. We'll pull this thing up. Forgive everyone. Little technical difficulty. There we go. Okay. We do have quorum. I will go ahead and open up. I'll read the item into the record, and we'll do public comment. Okay, Dr. Campos? All right. So item number 17. Item number 17 in this special agenda. Welcome everyone to this special meeting of the Board of Public Works. Item number 17, final environmental impact report, State Clearinghouse number 20170711063, and Sidewalk Repair Program Project. Recommending the board, in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, regarding the Sidewalk Repair Program Project, review, consider, adopt, and forward this report and transmittals to the Los Angeles City Council with the following recommended board actions and further recommendations for council actions. 1, review and consider the information contained in this project's final environmental impact report, comprised of the draft environmental impact report and the text of the FEIR, the final environmental impact report, and any other information in the record of proceedings. 2, approve the project's tree policy and the project's mandatory project features policy with consideration of the Rule 38 letter concerning the project's proposed ordinance, Los Angeles Municipal Code LAMC 62.104.1, and forward the project's street tree policy and mandatory project features policy to the council for final consideration and approval. And 3, recommend that the council, in accordance with the CEQA regarding the project, A, Review and consider the information contained in the project's FEIR, comprised of the DEIR and the text of the FEIR, and any other information in the record of proceedings, and certify that the FEIR was completed in compliance with the CEQA, that potentially significant environmental effects of the project have been disclosed and evaluated in compliance with the CEQA, and that the FEIR reflects and expresses the City of Los Angeles's independent judgment and analysis as the CEQA lead agency. B, adopt the project's CEQA findings, including the statement of overriding considerations in section 7 of the CEQA findings. C, specify that the documents constituting the record of proceedings in this matter are located at the office of the city clerk, 200 North Spring Street, 3rd floor, Los Angeles, California, 90012. The board's commission, 200 North Spring Street, 3rd floor, Los Angeles, California, 90012. The Department of Public Works, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Management Group, 1149 South Broadway, Suite 600, Los Angeles, California, 90015, and any other relevant city department. D, approve the project's street tree policy and the project's mandatory project features policy. And E, present and adopt the accompanying ordinance to add section 62.104.1 to the LAMC to establish and codify the new sidewalk repair program, a city program adopted for purposes of streamlining the approval of projects eligible for credit under the settlement agreement in the matter of Mark Lewis et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, United States District Court case number CB10-05782. With that, Dr. Campos, let's hear public comment.
Great, thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We do have 2 callers on the line that would like to speak on item number 17. For those of you from the general public that are joining us after the 10 o'clock or the 10:30 o'clock hour this morning, the Board of Public Works is now considering item number 17 on today's special agenda. If you'd like to speak on this item and you are joining us from the general public, please raise your hand by pressing *9 at this time. We will go ahead and take our first 2 callers that are in the queue. Again, if you'd like to speak on item number 17, please press *9 at this time to raise your hand. We'll go ahead with the first caller on the line, caller ending in 804, Mr. Madron. Casey.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. You have 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Hi, my name is Casey Madron. I'm president of United Neighborhoods for Los Angeles. I'd first like to say I object to the way this special meeting was noticed. I don't believe it's adequate to send out a notice less than 72 hours prior to the meeting. Basically tacking it on to the end of a regular meeting. It's been mentioned that there's only 2 callers here to speak about this item. I think that's probably because the notice is so short. There were scores of commenters on the DEIR, and I believe many more people would have shown up to comment if it had been properly noticed. UN4LAs, first I want to say we are absolutely in favor of sidewalk repair. This needs to be done, and we support the Willett settlement. But we also need to take into account impacts to the urban forest. LA's urban forest is already declining, and this will have this program will also have impacts in the urban forest. The board should not recommend approval of the FEIR or any of or take any other of the associated actions today. The FEIR is inadequate. The responses to commenters are inadequate. I won't go into detail right now, but they fail to take into account many issues that many legitimate issues that commenters brought up. And so the FEIR should not be approved in its current form. None of the actions on the agenda should be adopted today. The Board of Public Works should defer action on all of these items until a properly noticed public meeting has been held. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next caller on the line, caller ending in 645, caller ending in 645, Mr. Hall. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Hall. I am the Vice President of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, Vice President of the Hillside Federation. I'm President of the Laurel Canyon Association and President of the Laurel Canyon Land Trust. I'm speaking in my capacity today as the president of Laurel Canyon Association, and I'm here to speak on behalf of protected trees. The EIR sort of gave short shrift when it came to protected trees, certainly of the number of trees that will be impacted by the sidewalk repair program, but they exist. And I submitted a picture of some beautiful sycamores at Hollywood and Courtney that clearly are having impacts with sidewalks. And the EIR was non-committal in terms of whether or not those protected trees are going to be replaced with protected trees. And so we think the city needs to commit in this environmental clearance document to replacing all removed protected trees with protected trees. And that's because you cannot replace the environmental services provided by protected trees, which are specially adapted to this particular location by planting a non-native species. That's pretty fundamental. And we also think that the public hearing requirement for removal of protected trees should continue. And this ordinance should not exempt public hearings for this subset of species. So this is an important action you're taking today. I'm sure you're all aware of the consequences. It'll be 30 years before the canopy is replaced. So this is going to have major short-term environmental impacts, no doubt about it. But I'm just here today to speak up on behalf of protected trees and ask you to really think hard about this particular issue and maybe offer some recommendations to the City Council in terms of maintaining the public hearing requirement for removal of protected trees and also for replacing protected trees with protected trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. All right. I see Ms. Sauter, I see Arson, I see Maria Martin. Who's going to be leading the presentation today?
I'll just be kicking that off this morning.
Thank
So
you.
good morning, commissioners, Dr. Campos, and our city family. Just again, thank you for allowing me this time to acknowledge our SRP staff, as well as all of our community stakeholders and everyone who's really participated and contributed to this process. More specifically, our sidewalk repair team, our environmental management group, our partners at Streets LA Urban Forestry Division, and very specifically, I really wanted to take an opportunity to thank Ted Jordan, our General Counsel, and Sigmund Shu from the City Attorney's Office in shepherding us through this process and as we move forward. So with that, we'll go ahead and kick it off. And next is our acting principal civil engineer over the sidewalk repair program, Arsen Voskerchin.
Good afternoon. My name is Arsen Voskerchin. I'm with the Bureau of Engineering, Sidewalk Division. I'll be representing the sidewalk repair program today. And I'll be providing a little bit of background and overview of what's contained in our board report. And so with that, currently individual sidewalk repairs are reviewed on a case-by-case basis for the California Environmental Quality Act. Individual sidewalk repairs typically fit the definition of a Class 1 categorical exemption for existing facility repair and maintenance as identified under the CEQA. However, the draft EIR was prepared because the project consists of a new proposed ordinance that revises the manner in which sidewalk repairs under the Willett Settlement Agreement will be implemented. The fundamental objective of the project is to ensure the continued and efficient compliance with the requirements of the Willett Settlement Agreement while amending the existing program for sidewalk and curb ramp improvements within the city. Additional project objectives include retaining existing street trees that are the cause of sidewalk barriers to the extent feasible, provided the work would not result in street tree mortality or compromise public safety, complying with the city's replacement requirements to ensure no net street tree canopy loss at the end of the project if the removal of one or more street trees is required. An additional project objective is also to identify the criteria and the process for ministerial approval of future sidewalk improvements and street tree removals and replacements with the goal of avoiding the need to undertake individualized environmental review of every repair of every city sidewalk or of every street tree removal and replacement, and the potential legal challenges to those approvals, thereby streamlining the Willett settlement implementation and providing certainty to the city and its disability community. The project, as is defined in this report, is a citywide program to modify the manner in which sidewalk repair projects are undertaken pursuant to the city's obligations under the Willett Settlement Agreement. The project includes a proposed ordinance that revises the way sidewalk repairs pursuant to the Willett Settlement are reviewed and approved, and it's intended generally to improve and streamline the implementation process. The primary components of that ordinance include specific parameters to enable sidewalk repairs to proceed as ministerial approvals, not subject to further environmental review that would be applicable to discretionary actions. The ordinance also includes a streamlined discretionary approval process for sidewalk repair projects that fall outside of these specific parameters allowed for ministerial approval. Also includes a streamlined discretionary approval process for sidewalk repair projects involving the proposed removal of 3 or more street trees. And the ordinance also includes the sidewalk repair program street tree policy, which would be adopted along with the ordinance, as well as the sidewalk repair program mandatory project features policy, which generally consists of regulatory compliance measures and standard construction conditions and procedures. This new ordinance would enable the sidewalk repair project under the Willett Settlement Agreement to be subject to ministerial approval by the city engineer, as long as the individual project meets the following parameters. The sidewalk repairs last no more than 30 construction days in duration and require excavation depths of no more than 30 feet if it would not cause a substantial adverse change to the significance of a known historic, tribal cultural, unique archaeological, or unique paleontological resource as those terms are defined by CEQA, and if it involves the removal of 2 or fewer street trees. Staff has been working on a preliminary checklist to be used with the proposed ordinance approval process. If the individual project does not meet all of these parameters, it would be subject to discretionary approval by the city engineer, or if the work involves the removal of 3 or more trees, the discretionary approval would be made by the Board of Public Works. For these discretionary approvals, the final EIR would serve as a programmatic analysis of the impacts, and further project-level environmental review would be performed as necessary, depending on whether the project is within the scope of the EIR or if any exemptions apply. Now we'll go over the environmental review process and the response to comments. A notice of preparation and initial study were circulated from July 27, 2017 to September 15, 2017. During this extended 45-day review period, which is more than the required time frame, the city requested comment on the scope and content of the environmental information to be included in the draft environmental impact report. The draft environmental impact report was originally submitted and circulated for public review on December 26, 2019, for a period of 60 days initially. A notice regarding the public review period and time and location for the 7 public meetings on the draft EIR was published in the LA Times and La Opinion. The draft EIR was made available at 15 council district offices, 30 branch libraries, and the Bureau of Engineering's office. It is also presented and posted on the Safe Sidewalks LA website. In response to requests from the public and because of the extensive scope of this document as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, the public review period was extended twice through May 31st, 2020, for a total of 157 days. 7 public meetings were held during the period between January and February of 2020 to solicit comments on the draft EIR. In addition to the comments received at those public meetings, approximately 300 comment letters or emails on the draft EIR were received from agencies and individuals. These comment letters and emails were bracketed into over 1,200 individual comments, and master responses were developed in response to the most prevalent topics and issues. And individual comments are responded to in table format in the final environmental impact report. The most prevalent topics and issues from the comment letters included changes in the street tree canopy from the removal of trees under the project, street tree canopy modeling comments, other environmental impacts including shading, greenhouse gases, and sustainability, the project's streamlined CEQA and approval process, public notification procedures, particularly with tree removals, and the alternatives analysis under CEQA. The response to all of these comments are included in the final environmental impact report. The final report, the final environmental impact report, was released on April 30th, 2021, and it is available online on the Safe Sidewalks LA website at sidewalks.lacity.org. The final EIR found that for most individual sidewalk repairs under the project and for the project cumulatively, the environmental impacts would be less than significant, with no required mitigation. In very rare circumstances where the significance of a cultural or tribal cultural resource cannot be maintained, and in certain instances near sensitive noise receptors that is inherent to this type of construction on pedestrian facilities, the impacts would be significant and unavoidable. No feasible mitigation is available to render these significant and unavoidable effects less than significant, despite the imposition of the revised street tree policy and the mandatory project features policy. The city concludes, however, that the project's benefits outweigh its significant and unavoidable impacts, as set forth in the Statement of Overriding Considerations. The Statement of Overriding Considerations states that the city, in accordance with CEQA guidelines, chooses to approve the project because, in the city's view, the economic, social, and other benefits that the project will produce will render the significant effects acceptable. Some of the reasons why, in the city's judgment, the benefits of this project, as approved, outweigh its unavoidable significant impacts include ensuring continued Willits settlement compliance while amending the existing program, ensuring efficient repairs and providing accessibility, and ensuring no net loss of existing street tree canopy at the end of this project. And additional reasons and details are provided in transmittal number 5 along with this report. In accordance with CEQA guidelines, a total of 9 project alternatives were identified during the environmental impact report process. Of these 9 alternatives, 4, including the required no project alternative, were considered and further analyzed by the city, but were found to be undesirable, infeasible, and should be rejected because they failed to meet the project objectives. The alternatives that were considered with further analysis included the no project alternative, which would mean sidewalk repairs throughout the city would continue pursuant to city's obligations under the Willits Settlement Agreement using existing ordinances and policies. Alternative 1 was to include an ordinance to repair sidewalks and avoid removal of any street trees. Alternative 2 was to include an ordinance to exclude sidewalk repairs and street tree removals within 23 feet of the nearest occupied space of a sensitive use. And alternative 3 was to include an ordinance to exclude sidewalk repair projects that have the potential to affect known historic, tribal cultural, unique archaeological, or unique paleontological resources. Such projects would proceed as discretionary projects under existing codes and policies. However, all of these alternatives are undesirable, infeasible, and should be rejected because they fail to meet the project objectives. And with that, I will provide an overview of the 2 policies that are transmitted along with this report, starting with the Sidewalk Repair Program Street Tree Policy. With this policy, all sidewalk repair or construction activities undertaken pursuant to the Sidewalk Repair Program, whether it's eligible for ministerial or discretionary approval, would be subject to compliance with this Sidewalk Repair Program Street Tree Policy. This policy includes tree removal criteria. It includes standards and guidelines for tree canopy and root pruning. It also includes street tree planting specifications, which address species selection and site location, as well as the replacement ratio. And so this policy would increase our replacement ratio for the middle part of the program. So for years 1 through 10, the replacement ratio would be 2 to 1. So for every 1 tree that's removed, 2 trees would be planted. In years 11 through 21, it would increase to a 3 to 1 replacement ratio. So for every 1 tree that would be removed, 3 trees would be planted. And then in the latter part of the program, years 22 through 30, it would return back to a 2 to 1 replacement ratio. And year 1 is considered the fiscal year of 2017 through 2018. This policy also includes public notification criteria. And so a notice would be posted on the street tree that is to be removed. Notification would also be provided to the respective city council office, to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and the Community Forest Advisory Committee. The notice would include the date and the reason for the removal, the location and the species, and the contact information. So for 1 or 2 trees that would be removed, there would be a 7-day notice provided under this policy. For 3 or more trees, there would be a 30-day notice provided, and an additional notification would be posted on the Bureau of Street Services Street Tree Removal Notification System. This policy also includes maintenance and monitoring requirements. So for the first 3 years of planting, the trees would be regularly monitored and watered. And for any tree that does not survive within the first 3 years of planting, that tree would be replaced with a 1-to-1 replacement ratio. Next, I'll provide an overview on the Sidewalk Repair Program Mandatory Project Features Policy, which is transmittal number 3. With this policy, all sidewalk repair or construction activities pursuant to the Sidewalk Repair Program, whether eligible for ministerial or discretionary approval, would be subject to compliance with the requirements of the Sidewalk Repair Program Mandatory Project Features Policy. This policy consists of regulatory compliance measures and standard construction conditions and procedures for the following 8 categories: for biological resources, for cultural resources, geology and soils, hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, noise, transportation and traffic, as well as wildfire hazards. And so with that, we are recommending that the Board of Public Works review, consider, and adopt this report. We're also asking the Board of Public Works to review and consider the information contained in this final environmental impact report, and to approve the Sidewalk Repair Program Street Tree Policy, as well as the Sidewalk Repair Program Mandatory Project Features Policy, with consideration of Rule 38 letter concerning the Sidewalk Repair Program proposed ordinance, and forward the policies to City Council for final consideration and approval. We're also recommending that the board forward this report and the transmittals to City Council, and recommend that the City Council, in accordance with CEQA, certify the EIR, adopt the Sidewalk Repair Program CEQA findings, including the Statement of Overriding Considerations, and approve the Sidewalk Repair Program Street Tree Policy and Sidewalk Repair Program Mandatory Project Features Policy, which will hopefully also be adopted by the board. And for City Council to also present and adopt the accompanying ordinance to add Section 62-104.1 to the Municipal Code to establish and codify the new SRP Sidewalk Repair Program, a city program adopted for the purposes of streamlining the approval of projects eligible for credit under the Willett Settlement Agreement. And so with that, I'd like to thank and recognize our sidewalk repair team, as well as our environmental management group, and the City Attorney's Office for their critical role in this entire process. And so I'll pass it over to my colleagues, Maria and Sigmund, to see if they would like to add anything else.
Thanks, Arson.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Maria.
Yes.
Hi.
There was just a brief statement that I wanted to make before we continue. Just wanted to make the statement that the Bureau of Engineering has reviewed the additional comment letters that were received, and these comment letters do not raise any new or substantive issues. The final environmental impact report was released well within the CEQA requirements of providing notice to public agencies, and issues such as the baseline and the urban forest management plan inventory were addressed in the final EIR, and the project approval process was described in detail in the draft and in the final EIR, consistent with the proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, Mr. Chu, would you like to add anything?
Yes, this is Sigmund Chu, Deputy City Attorney. I just wanted to briefly respond to the public comment on protected trees. It is the cities and the Bureau of Street Services, Urban Forestry Division's longstanding interpretation, and also concurred with by the Planning Department, that LAMC 46 regarding the protected tree ordinance does not apply to planted trees, and almost all the trees in the right-of-way are planted trees. We have also conferred with the Urban Forestry Division, and consistent with the final EIR, which stated that the protected trees that were non-planted are rare, if ever, occurring in the right-of-way, they have confirmed that in their experience, they have not run into that situation. The only situation where they've run into a protected tree in the right-of-way is a paper street that's undeveloped, and so in those cases, the protected tree ordinance has applied.
Well, Mr. Chu, thank you for that. Also, I mean, protected tree was implicated, wouldn't that come to the board anyway, under our protected tree ordinance?
We're under a willets repair under the proposed ordinance. If it's a removal of 2 or fewer trees, those would not typically come to the board, and they don't come to the board at this time. However, any removal involving 3 or more trees would go to the board under the proposed ordinance.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chu. And thank you, Maria. Thank you, Arson. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure there will be plenty of questions, so everybody be on the ready. Let's start off with President Pro Tem Davis.
Come back to me, Mr. Chair.
All right.
If you don't mind.
No, that's fine. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I was kind of formulating my questions, but it's around the tree removal approval. So, Mr. I think Shu or Arson, are you saying that under this Willits order, if there's a protected tree that needs to be removed so to repair a sidewalk, it doesn't have to come through us? It can just be done?
Let me do, this is Ted, I'll speak to this.
Okay, good.
The project here analyzed the proposed ordinance and the policies. Under the proposed ordinance, it's a streamlining process to streamline the approval of sidewalk repair program projects. The sidewalk repair program project at issue is a qualifying project, so it meets the requirements of the draft ordinance. It's going to adhere to the 2 policies that are before you today. If that sidewalk repair program project, qualifying project, involves the removal of 1 or 2 trees, then that project will be approved by the city engineer through a ministerial approval process.
Even if
the side, and the 62104 does not, 62104.1 does not distinguish between that type of trees.
Ted, point of clarification, is that a protected tree or not?
It is a tree that's in the street.
Right, but
and the 62104 does not distinguish between what the species of the tree is.
So the answer is whatever the tree is, right? So even if it's a protected tree or not a protected tree, it doesn't matter.
It does not matter under this ordinance. The ordinance indicates that is notwithstanding any other provision of the code.
Okay, that was what I wanted.
But I can tell you, you're talking about something that is, you would be talking about a protected tree that was not planted, but where it was naturally occurring, that happens to be so close to a sidewalk that it's implicated under this. And if there's only 1 or 2, then that project will be subject to the the ministerial approval of the city engineer. If there are more than 2 trees, so there's 3 trees, then those projects will go to the Board of Public Works.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay.
My other question is, I think I'm still asking questions here. The 7-day notice that you talked about, Arson, and I know you said that's for 1 to 2 trees when they would be removed. Is that 7-day notice, where would you put that? On the tree itself? Or will there be like outreach for this?
So the notification would be posted on the street tree to be removed. It would also be provided to the respective city council office, the Department on Neighborhood Empowerment, and the Community Forest Advisory Committee.
Okay.
That's for the 1 to 2 trees. If there's 3 or more trees, it would also be posted on Bureau of Street Services street tree removal notification system.
Understood. And by the way, I'm just getting clarification on all of this because there were some things I wasn't cleared on.
Sure.
And my last question, I understand that you'll also be, once the sidewalk is repaired, right? Let's just say we repair it. You'll be planting back the trees, but I also heard that something about them dying or making sure that they don't die. So I guess my question or my point is, would you also be working with our chief forester officer to identify the best tree for that location? Or with with one of our chief forester or our urban, what is it?
Urban Forestry Division.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, we would be working with the Urban Forestry Division of the Bureau of Street Services to determine what trees to be planted, and then also for monitoring of those trees and watering of those trees. That would also be Urban Forestry Division.
Understood. Okay. I think those are just kind of my clarifying points for now. But as we move along, maybe I'll have others. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis?
I was trying to read some of the comments made by constituents about this. This is the federal EIR, right? Arson.
Correct. This is the final environmental impact report.
I mean, yeah, okay, yeah. The effort that we're putting here in terms of, one, certainly honoring the court's instruction for us to do street repairs that are certainly necessary, and at the same time, an opportunity that I think the city has brilliantly been able to respond to in helping to execute the court's instruction, which is that we have created opportunities for our small business and emerging community to be included, not only in walking the new repaired sidewalks, but in building them. And I think this is critically important, and it is perhaps initially an outcome that we may not have anticipated when we were confronted with having to be in federal court around the Wilkes case. So this has created for us an economic opportunity that Los Angeles so rightfully deserves. And it is going to a significant portion of our constituency base that needs this shot in the arm. And so the construction of sidewalks and sidewalk repairs not only benefits those disadvantaged citizens, whether they be disabled or whether they just be a person who has a home where they have some difficulty walking because of what has occurred over time in some unfortunate situations in neighborhoods. Still, we have had out of this challenge some hope in terms of what we're able to do in confronting this problem. When we look at the fact that some constituents have complained that trees need to be protected, and we need to make sure that we protect the trees, and that through this sidewalk repair, we don't haphazardly or recklessly destroy trees that provide canopy. I think nobody on the board disagrees with that. And I think that it has always been our intent to make sure that trees are appropriately cared for. And I would go further to say that we support this concern that some constituents have raised, certainly in their letters to us, but that verbally on a day-to-day basis when they come before the board, they express to us as well. So while I don't have a lot of questions, my observations are that we pretty much are supportive of the efforts and the remarks that have been discussed by staff and also those by our constituents in terms of making sure that we have the kind of policy coming out of the Board of Public Works that embraces the implementation of badly needed repaired sidewalks in this city, which provide an opportunity for small and emerging businesses to get work. And finally, that we value the inclusion of trees that don't necessarily have to be removed. And I'm just going to keep my comments to this issue But I will say that that concern is a public value we have in other cases presenting to us as it relates to protecting trees. And so I don't know if people feel that we have not been aggressive enough in terms of protecting trees, but this board has always been open to hearing any concern that constituents have about trees. And yet, while we understand we have to build Los Angeles, we have to repair Los Angeles, at the same time, I think that it can be said in this case that you're presenting to us today, in summary, that we agree with all of the remarks that Arsen, you have discussed with us in terms of how Bureau of Engineering will be dealing with this. And personally, I support those efforts.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you so much, Arsen and Ms. Sutter, also for your report. I understand what we have to do. I appreciate that we're codifying all of this today, and I know it still has to go through separate approval processes. But I appreciate that Bureau of Engineering did a thorough EIR and was able to solicit input from the public and actually looked at that input to ensure that either it was, valid or went along with the requirements that we're looking for in the EIR. I understand that absent this EIR, we look at the tree removals for the improvements to sidewalks on a case-by-case basis, and they're categorically exempt. And we would still be doing the same thing absent the EIR, absent this EIR. So I appreciate that that this EIR will streamline this process and be able to not deplete our tree canopy, but keep it as is or bolster it. But I like that you all are also working and sharing information with Streets LA, with our Urban Forestry Division. That is going to be working collaboratively with you all. Thank you for that. And I don't have any specific questions. I mean, Arsen, your report was extremely thorough. It's a lot of information to review. To the callers that are also present, I hope that they find, some answers to their questions, because, the protected trees are, significant to the city. We do have a special ordinance for those, and they will be replaced with protected trees. So it's not that we are trying to deplete our tree canopy. And, I think that we've provided ample, information as well, and I appreciate that. So I don't have any further questions. Actually, that's not a correct comment, because I didn't ask any questions. I don't have any more comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas, and you're welcome to ask questions too. Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good. First, I just want to thank the Bureau of Engineering for all their hard work on this. The report before us is a culmination of work that's been ongoing since, let me see what the date is here, 2017. That's how long they've been engaged in this very public process. So definitely want to thank, of course, City Engineer Gary Lee Moore, Deputy City Engineer Julie Sauter, of course, Arsen, Maria, Sigmund, Mr. Jordan, and there's so many people that have been working on this. So much time from the city family has gone into this report before us, not just from the Bureau of Engineering, but really from the Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Street Services, City Attorney's Office, and so much more. And I also want to thank one person who's not here before us, but he worked on this a lot, which is Mr. Robert Vega, who retired a few months ago. So Robert, if you can hear us in retirement, thank you for all your hard work on this. I don't have any questions for Arsen and then the entire team. I thought you did a great job summarizing anything, and the report is more than thorough. And like I mentioned, BOE has been incredibly transparent from what I've seen. In this process, it could not have been more public. They have an entire website dedicated to talking about the process, to sharing comments, giving their contact information. So they have been dealing with feedback and comments, not just through the official process, but also through stakeholder engagement meetings, which have been plentiful throughout this time. I also want to say that what's before us is the first of its kind. I haven't heard of any other city or county in the country with an environmental report for their entire sidewalk repair program. And so I just want to acknowledge what a leader the city of LA is in this space, because this is the first time that I think we've seen this being done. And that is really remarkable, to have a holistic picture about what we're doing over the course of a 30-year program. And so I think those are really my remarks. Just really a thank you and appreciation to BOE and the entire city team for working on this. And you guys have done a lot of hard work, and I hope that my colleagues and the entire community who feels so invested in this program sees that, because I know you all truly care about trees. You all care about the people using the sidewalks, and also just the community benefit that this is going to bring. And lastly, just thank you also to all the callers and everyone who took the time to submit public comment. Shilpa, I believe I forgot to mention her. I'm sure was the recipient of many comments and responding to them. So that's really it for me, but just thank you all for your hard work. You're on mute, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Closum. I do want to just go back. I've been thinking about this, the protected tree issue, and I do think it is important for the public, relative to the board's position on protected trees. I think President Pro Tem Davis hit on this. I'm very confident in the precedent we've set and the ethos we've set in terms of really working to protect trees, really working to protect and expand canopy, particularly in vulnerable areas. I think it is germane to the question that and I think it maybe got a little lost, that again, per an item we had a couple of weeks ago, a protected tree, no matter what the species, is not a protected, a tree is not protected regardless of the species if it was planted versus naturally occurring. And it would be extraordinarily rare to have a protected tree species exist in a street tree space, i.e. the right of way. It just doesn't really happen. And if there is a tree that is otherwise known as a protected tree in the right of way, then the odds are exceedingly high, and disabuse me of this if I'm off, Ms. Sauter, Mr. Vosterchine, Mr. Martin, Mr. Shoup, it would be extremely rare for that to have occurred naturally, i.e. making it protected. Is that a fair assumption?
We believe so. We have not yet come across one of those.
We've not yet come across one of those. Okay. And then past that threshold, I think it's you know, I do think it's important to note that the prime objective of this enterprise, again, to Mike's point, is replacing the sidewalks of the city. And if we all look at the proposed street tree policy, no tree is going to be removed unless it is dead, diseased, or unable to be retained by root pruning due to concern of tree condition and in the interest of public safety, canopy pruning, and or the criteria below, plus the several other criteria. My point there being, no tree is going to get touched unless it can't be there, unless it is undermining, literally, the primary objective of this enterprise, of this court-mandated settlement. And then lastly, and I think that this is very important, let's say we get through all that, and there's this unicorn naturally occurring black walnut or oak in a parkway somewhere that an entire neighborhood just kind of got built around somehow. Even then, I encourage anybody to look at page 3 next to the last paragraph of the street tree policy, and that is the right tree, right place element of the street tree policy. And for the record, I'll read it. Species selection shall consider size of growing space, parkway, tree well, size and uniformity along blocks and street segments. In general, street tree species selection at a given location shall be determined by the predominant street tree species on a block. I think unicorn's appropriate here. If we have a bunch of oak trees on a block blowing up sidewalks, I'd like to see that block, one. Two, then it would be presumptively replaced with another oak tree. If it is singular in its nature on that block, query how it got there, and it would have been planted, presumably. That's a scenario that I don't see happening. So I think it's an appropriate and important question that was asked in public comment, but I think that our concern around protected trees is well established, and I think that the policy, both the street tree policy and the document that we're reviewing right now, as well as the ordinance, cover the bases on that, making it, as we say in Texas, the chances are slim to none that we ever find that, and Slim skipped town a couple of weeks ago. So with that, I would echo all of my colleagues in thanking Arson, Julie, Maria, Sigmund, and Ted, for sure, who's going to eschew compliments, but for really an extraordinary amount of work. This is really comprehensive. The EIR, to Jessica's point, is really groundbreaking and unusual. And I think it is now accompanied by a very robust set of policies that would go along with the ordinance that really are going to help us get to meaningful, incredibly substantive goals for the city. So I would and do invite a motion to approve. I'm going to invite Ms. Colosa, in fact, motion.
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second? Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Dr. Campos, why don't we take a roll call on this one?
Absolutely. There's been a motion by Commissioner Colosa and seconded by Commissioner Davis to move and adopt item number 17 and move it forward to City Council for its consideration. Roll call and voting tabulation. We'll go ahead and take the vote now. President Good?
Aye.
Vice President Garcia?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis?
Aye.
Commissioner Colosa?
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas?
Aye.
5 ayes. This motion carries unanimous and adopted.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, BOE. Excellent work. Let's get it going. On to council. Thank you. And again, thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sigmund. Appreciate it very, very much. All right. We will now adjourn the special meeting that we just handled. We will take a 5-minute recess, or we will continue the recess. We don't have to take a recess. We're already in recess. At 1:17, the board will return to reconvene the regular meeting. As a note for folks, I will have to step away. Vice President Garcia will chair the meeting. We have this little Budget and Finance Committee meeting that's also happening right now that I need to be on call for. So Vice President Garcia will take the rest of the meeting. When it reconvenes at 1:17, we will not be doing a management team meeting today, colleagues, because of what we have on the city's docket right now. So thank you all for handling the special agenda, and everyone will come back at 1:17 to continue the other. Special meeting adjourned.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner, I apologize for that.
No problem. You're only 2 minutes late. I'm kidding. Such a big deal over Zoom.
I have so many notes.
Okay, it looks like we just have very administrative stuff coming up next, and that would be the rest of and I have jotted down the ones that we're still missing.
Yeah, I can go ahead and read those into the record if you'd like once we get started. If you'd like, I can go ahead and reestablish quorum.
Yeah, let's do that.
Great. It is now 1:20 in the afternoon for Friday, May 14th. The Board of Public Works is now reconvening its regular agenda. We have Vice President Garcia as our chair, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. Madam Chair, you do have a quorum at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Campos, for that. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody else, for hanging in there. It's now 1:20, and we'll get through the rest of the items. Confirming the rest of the items are 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, we'll go in that order since it's very administrative. And Dr. Campos, will you help me, if we have speakers, identify who they are?
Absolutely. And thank you for taking it in chronology and in order.
Yes, I want to make sure that we kind of go that route. Okay.
Thank you.
But we'll start with number 5. All of our commissioners are here. We'll start with item number 5. This is a board report for Council District 15. This is contract acceptance, Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant Emergency Generator Controls Upgrade. Recommending the board to 1, accept this contract. Do we have a speaker on this item?
Yes, good afternoon. George Espindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Espindola.
Thank you. On November 27th, 2017, the board authorized the city engineer to utilize a current on-call contract for the emergency generator control upgrade at the Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant. A construction order was issued to Miron Electric Construction Corporation, which will happen to be the next contractor on rotational basis on the all-call list, for the amount not to exceed $1,252,000. The notice to proceed was issued on December 6, 2017. Work began on December 6, 2017, which is the same day, and was completed on January 21st, 2020. This project provided for the upgrades of all control systems on both generators and paralleling switch gears and generator monitoring control at the Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant. 10 task orders were issued, bringing the total cost of this project to $1,232,011.19. Final corrections were completed on January 21st, 2020. There are no disputed funds associated with this project. Funds were provided by the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund. The contractor has complied with the Equal Employment Opportunity and Labor Compliance requirement of the contract. And there are no unresolved property owner complaints in connection to this project.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Spindola, for that report. Commissioners, any questions? We'll start with Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. I don't have any questions for Mr. Spindola. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Dr. Davis, any questions?
None for me on this item. Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
And Commissioner Villegas?
And none for me either. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spindola, it doesn't seem like you have any questions on this. Is there a motion to move this item forward?
So move.
Okay. Oh, good. Commissioner Villegas will second. Any concerns, Commissioner Colosa?
No.
No concerns? Any objections? Hearing none, the item is now adopted and set forthwith. Where are you, Dr. Campos? I
am right here.
Good. All right, we're good with number 5? Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Spindola. Have a great weekend. Or are you here for the next one too?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay.
For
So let me read it into the record and then you can go ahead. So this is item number 6. This is in Council District 4. This is a contract acceptance. This is for Mountain Lee Drive, Mulholland Highway Bulkhead and sites 3-6 and 12. Recommending the board to 1, accept this contract. Mr. Spindola?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. George Spinola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The Mount Lee Drive Mulholland Highway Bulkhead and sites 3-6 and 12 project was awarded to Jilk Heavy Construction Incorporated on January 21st, 2020 in the amount of $263,284 with a not to exceed amount of $315,940. This project constructed approximately 25 linear feet of bulkhead on the south side of Mount Lee Drive and approximately 32 linear feet of metal beam guardrails, 320 square feet of asphalt concrete paving, and resurfaced 3,900 square feet of existing asphalt street in Council District 4. 2 change orders were issued totaling $631, increasing the total cost of this project to $263,915 with 1 cent. Final corrections were completed on June 30th, 2020. Funding was through General Fund number 100, Department 54. BCA's Office of Contract Compliance has found that this contractor has met all the equal employment opportunities and labor compliance required of the contract. There are no unresolved property complaints or disputed funds in connection to this project.
Thank you, Mr. Spindola. That's great to hear. Any questions on this item, Dr. Davis?
No, no questions for me on this item.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Commissioner Villegas?
I have none. No questions either. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Colosa?
No questions for me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, Mr. Spindola. It sounds like nobody has any questions. Hearing none, is there a motion to move this item forward? I'm sorry, I'm not hearing none. You haven't gotten there yet.
So move.
Dr. Davis, is there a second on this item?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Colosa. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
No objections.
No objections. Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith. Mr. Spindola, are you here for the third one too?
That is correct.
All right, we'll keep going. This is item number 7. We're moving on. And this is a contract. Give me a second. 1 second. Read it into order. The rest of my page, number 7. Oh, here we go. Okay. Item number 7. This is in Council District number 1. This is a contract acceptance for Mount Washington Drive 650 bulkhead, recommending the board to 1, accept this contract. Mr. Spindola?
Yes, thank you. Again, George Spindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The 650 Mount Washington Drive bulkhead project was awarded to Clark Contracting Corporation on January 27, 2020, in the amount of $457,560, with a not to exceed limit of $549,072. The project constructed 24 linear feet of 10 and a half feet high steel beams and concrete lagging retaining wall, 284 linear feet of curb and gutter, 1,136 square feet of new paving, and installed 284 linear feet of beam guardrails, and disposed of existing wood and concrete lagging. This was in Council District 1. 5 change orders were issued, decreasing the amount of the contract by $952 with 1 cent, bringing the total value of the project to $456,587 with 99 cents. Final corrections were completed on June 22nd, 2020. Funding was through SB1 Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Fund number 59B, Department 50. BCA's Office of Contract Compliance has found that this contractor has met all the equal employment opportunities and labor compliance requirements of the contract. There are no unresolved property complaints or disputed funds in connection to this project.
Great, that's great to hear, Mr. Spindola. Okay, any questions from my colleagues? We'll go with Commissioner Villegas.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Dr. Davis?
Let me see. What is the timeline and period for the project?
It was, the notice to proceed was January 27, 2020. So, and final corrections were done on June 22nd. So about 6 months, Commissioner.
Okay, it was a 6-month project. Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Commissioner Colosa, any questions?
No questions for you, Vice President Garcia. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Spindola, no questions for you. Is there a motion to move this item forward?
Second.
We got a first from Commissioner Colosa and a second with Dr. Davis. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
None. No
Great.
objections.
Great. With that, Dr. Campos, no objections. So this item is now adopted and set to move forthwith. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, is that your last one, or do we still have you for more?
Yeah, you still have me for item 12 and 13.
All right, well, let's keep going then.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to number 12. This is subcontractor substitution, Ford EC Inc. Recommending the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis approving the request of Ford EC Inc. for the subcontractor substitution of Camilo Lopez Inc., DBA CL Concrete with ANS Cement Contractors Inc. for site concrete and rebar work for the North Hollywood Sewer Maintenance Yard. Rebid. Mr. Spindola?
Thank you. George Spindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The Bureau received a request on February 5th, 2021 from Ford EC Incorporated to substitute their bid-listed subcontractor Camilo Lopez Incorporated DBA CL Concrete, a MBE contractor, for site rebar and concrete work with ANS Cement Contractor Incorporated, a MBE DBE SBE contractor, and Ford EC Incorporated owned forces. The request was accompanied by a letter from CL Concrete withdrawing from the work. The Bureau of Contract Administration's Office of Contract Compliance verified that Ford EC Incorporated administered a good faith effort to find another qualified contractor. The bid listed amount for Camilo Lopez Incorporated is $584,277.50. ANS Cement Contractors will complete a portion of the work for $538,230, which is 92%. 40C will complete the remaining portion of the work for $46,047.50, which is the additional 8%. The total amount requested for this substitution is $584,277.50, which will be at no additional cost to the city. The Bureau concurs with the recommendation of Commissioner Davis to approve this substitution.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Spandola. Commissioners, any questions on this? Commissioner Calosa?
No questions from me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Got it. And Dr. Davis?
No, none, no additional questions for me.
And Commissioner Villegas?
And no questions from me either. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions from our commissioner. Is there a motion to move this item forward?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas.
Second.
Commissioner Dr. Davis, thank you for seconding that. This is moved by Commissioner Villegas and second by Dr. Davis. Any objections, Commissioner Calosa? Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith. All right, Mr. Mendoza, you're on a roll. Let's go. Let's finish this up. Number 13. We're moving now to item number 13. This is a subcontractor substitution for United Construction and Landscape, Inc. Recommending the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis approving the request of United Construction and Landscape, Inc. for the subcontractor substitution of On Point Land Surveying, Inc. with Vertex Survey, Inc. for survey work for the Los Angeles River Headwater Bikeway Owens Mouth Avenue to Mason Avenue. This is a rebid federal project number ATPL-5006830. All right, Mr. Spandola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. George Spindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The Bureau received a request on January 27, 2021 from United Construction and Landscaping Incorporated to substitute their bid-listed subcontractor On Point Land Surveying, a OBE contractor, for site demolition with Vertex Survey Incorporated, another OBE contractor. Their request was accompanied by a letter from On Point Land Surveying withdrawing from the work. The Bureau of Contract Administration Office of Contract Compliance verified that United Construction and Landscaping Incorporated administered a good faith effort to find another qualified subcontractor. The bid listed amount for On Point Land Surveying Incorporated is $65,000. Vertex Surveying Incorporated will complete the work for the same amount. This substitution will be at no additional cost to the city. The Bureau concurs with recommendations of Commissioner Davis to approve this substitution.
Thank you, Mr. Spandola. Any questions, commissioners? Go with Commissioner Villegas.
I have no questions either.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
None. As a
Commissioner,
matter of fact, I move.
I know, you're the one. We're here for you. Commissioner Calosa?
No questions from me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Got it. So we have a motion set forward by Commissioner Dr. Davis. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Villegas has second. Any objections, Commissioner Calosa? None? Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Spandola. Have a great weekend, and thank you for hanging in there with us.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
Can go get lunch now.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, colleagues, we are now almost at the end. We are on item 14. This is all council districts. This is an AFE for Sterndal Enterprises. I hope I said that right. Sterndal Enterprises, Inc. This is for the Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority of expenditure in the amount of $80,000, a new adjusted amount of $99,000 to encumber additional funds to pay for freeway off-ramp closure services plus related permits, licenses, and administrative costs required by the state of California. This is an AE 210000017M Fund 100, General Fund, Department 86, Appropriation Unit 003040. All right. Is somebody presenting on this, Dr. Campos?
Yes, we have Melinda Cho from the Bureau of Street Services.
Okay, Ms. Show, are you now?
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you. So this is an authority for expenditure for the contractor to provide freeway off-ramp closure services. We currently have an existing authority for expenditure in the amount of $19,000, and we're basically asking for an $80,000 increase for a total of $99,000. The freeway off-ramp closures are required when completing street projects that are adjacent to freeways, and this basically detours freeway traffic from streets so that crews can work safely. This is outside the city's jurisdiction, and it's a specialized work that requires Caltrans special approval, including pulling permits, traffic control plans, and using special signs and equipment as specified by Caltrans. The services have already been used 3 times this fiscal year, and we have 3 more locations that are planned for the remainder of the fiscal year. This service used to be provided under a contract, and we have been trying to execute a new contract to replace that, but in the interim, we've been using an authority for expenditure as a stopgap. This concludes my presentation. Any questions, commissioners?
Thank you, Michelle. We'll take any questions from our commissioners. Commissioner Colosa, any questions?
No questions for me. I thought Melinda did a nice job presenting. Thank you.
Thank you. I also like your background a lot.
Thank you.
I wish we were there. Any questions, Dr. Davis?
Oh, you said that we are using the AE for how long of a period before we go to some permanent contract?
We actually released a request for proposal September of 2020, and we have already evaluated proposals and are recommending a new contract. We will be going to board in the next 1 to 2 months, and it just so happens that Sterndal was the previous contractor, and we've been using them for the authority for expenditure, and for the next contract, they will be the awardee as well. We only received 1 proposal, and so, you know, they've been providing services for many years now, and it is a very specialized field. So
I was going to say that it appears that they are one of the very few who's doing this work, given their position
yes.
at every turn. So great.
Yeah, the previous contract was for 5 years, so they've been providing services to us for quite a while now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shaw. Any questions, Commissioner Villegas?
I don't have any questions. Thank you. I was briefed on this, and I'm good. Thank you.
Great. Perfect. Other than that, but I think I called on all of our commissioners already.
By the way, I do want to add that because of the we're approaching fiscal year end, I do ask that this item be submitted forthwith just to prevent any further delays.
Okay. Any objections to that, commissioners? Doesn't seem like
No
it.
objections to that.
Okay, perfect. Is there a motion to? I'll set this one forward. I'll move. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. There's a first by me and a second by Commissioner Villegas. Any objections, Dr. Davis or Commissioner Colosa?
No objections from me.
No objection. Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great, Mrs. Shaw, is that it for you today?
That's it for me.
All right, thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, we are now at number 15, commissioners. This is an administrative item. This is a specification submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids for the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant Ferric Chloride Facility Replacement, CIP 2460, rebid WOSZH 11854. This is an estimate of $2,090,000. Bid receipt date will be June 23rd, 2021. is there somebody presenting on this, Dr. Campos, or?
Madam Chair, there's no presenters on this item. This is just the approval from your board to authorize the release of the specifications. However, we do have somebody from the Bureau of Sanitation, should your board have any questions.
Understood. Any questions from our commissioners? Villegas,
None from me.
Davis, and Colosa?
I'm good. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second to my motion to move this item forward?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Colosa. Any objections, Dr. Davis or Villegas?
No objections from me.
Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith. All right. I think we are done with all of our administrative items and all of our board items, right, Dr. Campos?
That is correct. You are left with one item on the dock, which is item number 16, the oral report.
Item number 16. It almost feels so short. We're ending like at 1:40, you guys. We're
I
not
like
done.
that. Good ending.
It feels like we should prolong this. I'm kidding. All right. With that said, Mr. Maxwell is here with a really cool picture in the background. Very nice. Where is that? I feel like it's somewhere in Century City or somewhere, right? You're mute, Mr. Maxwell. I can think maybe there's another mute button somewhere else.
Can you hear me now? There we go. Yeah, that's one of our projects. I believe that was our Sepulveda Boulevard job right along the 405 freeway.
All right. I think I know my city pretty well then. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for hanging on in there so long with us. But the floor is all yours now.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, and Dr. Campos. I am Orlando Maxwell, Superintendent with the City of LA, Streets LA. This information is being provided to keep the public informed on the upcoming resurfacing project and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays. For additional information or concerns, you can contact our coordinating section for the Streets Renewal Division at area code 213-847-3200. The following major streets projects are scheduled in the Metro and Valley regions during the week of 5/23 through 5/29. Saturday, May 22nd through Sunday, May 23rd, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Fairfax Avenue from Warner Drive to Olympic Boulevard in Council District 4, our Mid-City West Neighborhood Council, funded by our Pavement Preservation Program. And on Saturday, May 22nd through Sunday, May 23rd, from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Canoga Avenue from Ventura Boulevard to Burbank Avenue in Council District 3, Woodland Hills Warner Center Neighborhood Council, and that's also funded by our Pavement Preservation Program. During the week of May 23rd through May 29th, we have scheduled to complete in the Valley and Metro regions 18 projects for a total of 11.08 lane miles. The press releases were distributed and notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with council offices to assist with outreach to stakeholders. We have coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This information is also available on the Streets LA website using the resurfacing open projects icon. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Any questions, commissioners? We'll go with Commissioner Colosa.
No questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for getting the most patient award every Friday. We're always so happy, so thank you and have a nice weekend.
You too.
Dr. Davis?
No questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for a great report today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Commissioner Villegas?
And I have no questions either. I appreciate it, Mr. Maxwell. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
you so much. Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Definitely appreciate your patience and time, and happy to be with us at the end. So thank you. We're letting you go early today. It's not 4. So
yes, you are. Thank you.
I know. So 2 hour break. All right. Well, with that, I don't have any other questions either. I think you did a great job as always, and appreciate your good attitude with us. Dr. Campos, is there anything on the desk we need to?
No, that clears the desk.
Perfect. With that, colleagues, it is 1:47 on Friday, May 14th. We are officially adjourned. No management meeting, and just have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
weekend.
everyone. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Dr. Campos, are you at the office?
No.
Okay, so I have to call you on your phone to update you. I'm sending you an updated.
I'm going into Budget and Finance Committee, but yes, you can call me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sending you an update memo on the grant.
He just left.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Davis?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know if we're still recording or not, but it doesn't really matter.